UBI, good people to bank with. आपके भरोसे के लिए मैक्स लाइफ इंश्योरेंस, किर्लोस्कर।
India-Canada face-off escalates. Is Trudeau backing K-terror? Are Trudeau's charges credible?
We're standing up for the rules-based order. We're standing up for the rule of law.
Can ties with Canada improve? What do Indian voters think? Political stock exchange. Big focus on Newstrack.
What do respondents think of the downward spiral in Indo-Canada ties and all the charges that Canada has leveled and India has pushed back? Let's get started with the results of the India Today Sea Voter Political Stock Exchange. Question number 1. Why is Justin Trudeau accusing India of killing a Khalistani terrorist? Here are the responses. I'll tell our viewers once again. We've got two cuts for the data. One is the overall national aggregate cut, and the second is an expanded sample just in Punjab. So I'll have soon results for Punjab as well, separate from the overall national numbers. So here are the overall national numbers. Why is Trudeau accusing India of killing Khalistani terrorist Niger? To benefit in domestic elections, say 26% of the respondents. Because his party is under pro-Khalistani pressure, say 23% of the respondents. Trudeau is diverting attention, say 21% of the respondents. Because India is demanding action against the likes of Niger and those who are fanning Khalistani flames, say 13%. Trudeau was ignored in the G20, say only 6%. So the bigger number there is that he's trying to benefit in Canadian elections and because he's under pressure from pro-Khalistani elements. Let's look at how these numbers stack up in Punjab. Now here are the results from Punjab on the same question. To benefit in polls, 28%, pro-Khalistani party pressure 15%, diverting attention say 18%, India's demand for action 11%, Trudeau ignored in the G20 say 6%. Now the interesting thing there is that the sentiment in Punjab seems to be aligned with the national sentiment on this question. So it's not as if the two data sets are divergent, they are trending in the same direction. Question number 2 on your screen now. What do you make of the charge that Justin Trudeau has leveled that India is responsible for the killing of Niger? Here are the responses. 57% of the overall respondents say no, India is not responsible for killing Niger. Even amongst those who said they voted for the opposition, 54% of the respondents say no, India did not kill Niger. So the sentiment very strongly has people suggesting they don't think India is responsible for the killing of this Khalistani terrorist. Let's take a look at the responses in Punjab on the same question. Here, it's 37% saying no. Nationally, it was 57% saying no. So it's 20% less than that. 37% say no, 29% say yes. Nationally, it was 16. So 13% more people say India may have been responsible for the killing of the Khalistani terrorist. I want to show you question number 3. What if Indian agencies killed the Khalistani terrorist? What if India actually ordered an extrajudicial killing? Do you support that or not? They did the right thing, say 61. 6 out of 10 respondents in this Sea Voter India Today Political Stock Exchange tracker say yes, if India did kill a Khalistani terrorist, the government did the right thing, say 61. They are wrong, say 14. Let's look at the mood in Punjab on the same question. Even in Punjab, 40% of the respondents say yes, they did the right thing. They are wrong, say 25. This is, of course, India has denied that they are responsible for the killing of the Khalistani terrorists. But even if that is somehow true, in Punjab also 40% say yes, that's the right thing. Nationally, that number was at 61. So with this now, let me introduce our guests who are joining me on this broadcast. I want to welcome first Yashwant Deshmukh, the lead cephalogist at Sea Voter. With us also on this broadcast for context and perspective is Brahma Chalani, one of India's best-known strategic affairs experts. We have Navdeep Singh Suri, distinguished fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, former ambassador. And we have Manjinder Singh Sirsa, National Secretary and spokesperson of the BJP. I want to go across first and foremost to Yashwant Deshmukh. On your numbers, the mood very clearly seems to suggest that people think that Trudeau is doing what he is because he wants to benefit in the Canadian elections and because he's under pressure from pro-Khalistani elements inside Canada.
Well, Rahul, one very interesting thing which is coming from this particular round of PSE poll, from us. Earlier, every time we did a tracking poll on any such pressing issue, we could see a very, very partisan kind of answers based on the political orientation, ideologies. I guess that after a long time, we got to an issue where actually there is hardly any division as far as the opposition voters or NDA voters are concerned. So particularly this is, and also the fact that even though I was expecting some difference as far as response from rest of India and Punjab is concerned, but it is not as big a change that would have been contrasting of sorts. So arguably this is one, ironically for Canada and Trudeau, it is one issue which has kind of united more or less people across India, and whatever the way many in the West might have been thinking of Indians having different opinion or different idea on this particular power play or game of accusations.
That's a very important point Yashwant Deshmukh makes, because since the time I've been running the results of the political stock exchange, on no issue has the opinion amongst opposition voters and government voters been so aligned as it is on the issue of India-Canada, Trudeau's charges and India's pushback. That shows the level of congruence there is across the political divide. Brahma Chalani, 57% of the respondents nationally say India did not kill the Khalistani terrorists, and even if it were true that Indian agencies did kill the Khalistani terrorists, 61% seem to support the move. What do you make of the kind of responses we've picked up in the political stock exchange?
Well, first, when you have a dreaded international fugitive that is wanted in India for multiple acts of terror, including bombing a cinema that killed or wounded 46 people, he also assassinated a politician. So obviously, his death, by whatever means, can only be welcomed by people in India. You won't find a majority opinion opposing the fact that he died. Whether he died of natural cause or he died of unnatural cause, that's a different issue. But the fact that a dreaded terrorist is gone is something that Indians can only welcome.
Do you want to just quickly recap for those watching the charges against KS Nijjar, because a lot of people in Canada and elsewhere trying to project him as a Sikh preacher in charge of a Gurdwara, a man of religion, not a man of violence?
The thing is that, like some other prominent fugitives from India that are based in Canada's British Columbia province, these guys entered Canada illegally, including Mr. Nijjar. They entered Canada illegally with the help of criminal bands, and given the growing Sikh militancy in British Columbia, in particular in Canada, there is a growing nexus between criminal bands and radical Khalistanis, which has led to frequent gangland killings. Nijjar was very much part of this nexus. In fact, after he illegally entered Canada, twice he applied for refugee status, and each time his application was rejected by authorities. That's the background of this guy who was wanted in India for multiple acts of terror. But he was not on India's list of most wanted terrorists. So I need to make that clear, because there are a number of terrorists that are hiding abroad, that are household names in India. For example, everybody knows about Hafiz Saeed, Masood Azhar, etc. Dawood Abraham is another example. But, until this guy died, not many people knew about him in India because he was not among the most wanted terrorists in India.
Okay. Now, Manjinder Singh Sirsa, what is interesting in the data is the fact that whether the voter is an NDA voter or he's voting for the opposition, there is a high level of alignment on questions to do with India, Canada, Khalistan, Trudeau's action, the charges. It seems the mood in the country is very similar regardless of which side one sits on the political divide.
No, definitely the mood has to be similar. Reason being, everybody is a patriot here. And when it comes to a country, I don't feel any single person will say that I don't stand with my country. Now, here the question is that Trudeau is raising this issue in the parliament. Being a prime minister, he is supposed to give evidence rather by saying, yeah, I doubt, or mujhe shak hai, or something word like this cannot be a word for an international when you are using this for a counterpart with other country, vice versa. So by saying this, that I doubt that India could be involved or India could be involved in this act of violence or in this killing, by simply saying that, yesterday also he gave a statement. He said India should join us, India should help us out in finding. So that, whether he has asked any kind of help, whether India has denied any kind of help, he never said this. So everybody in this nation knew now that what Trudeau did is it's a political stunt. Why he did so? Because he had a backlash when he went back to Canada from India, because nobody in G20, the other countries, maybe America, England, nobody cared for him. So that was the media was ruining his life like there, but that was the reason he came out of the parliament, suddenly raised this question. So even if he was aware of this fact, while before coming to India, he could have said that, or he could have waited to conclude the investigation. And thirdly, day before yesterday, another criminal was killed there, another mafia don or whatever you say was killed there. Who is responsible for his killing? Who is responsible for his killing?
Absolutely.
So,
Navdeep Suri, you've been
this was a total drama.
Okay. Navdeep Suri, you've been a diplomat. You also understand politics. I want to show our viewers the current popularity numbers of Justin Trudeau relative to his opponents in Canadian politics. There's an election coming up in a year or so from now. Who is the preferred prime ministerial candidate? Trudeau's popularity stands at only 31%. 40% would like his principal opponent, Pierre Poilievre, to be the next prime minister. 22% want Jagmeet Singh of the NDP. Remember, Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh are in an alliance, and Pierre Poilievre is at 40%. He's number one. Now, this assertion that's being made that he's doing this to salvage low popularity ratings, to what extent do you believe that that could be true? Because even in the C voter data, most people think he's doing it to benefit in local elections and he's under pressure from the Khalistani lobby.
Well, I think that seems self-evident, and he's been doing this for several years. I think the attachment to the Khalistani lobby seems to be directly proportional to his falling numbers. But otherwise, we've seen it in his Bhangra gigs, we've seen it in his various appearances, trying to curry favor with a section of the Sikh community in Canada. But Rahul, I want to make 2 points, if I may. One is because perhaps I'm sitting in Amritsar and you've drawn a poll in Punjab. So let me take a shot at the very interesting numbers that you threw up. Even while there's a great deal of agreement, and your numbers showed that, on the India-Canada issue, India is doing the right thing, and there was no difference between your numbers in India as a whole and in Punjab. But there is a real disquiet in Punjab because it disproportionately sends people to Canada, right? Of the millions strong, whatever Indian community is, 60% is from Canada. And today, when you read the headlines and we look at all the newspapers and listen to some of the commentary on YouTube, the sense you get is two kinds of worry. One is people whose families are in Canada and who were waiting for their parents and others. There's a holiday season coming up, there's a festive season coming up, there's a wedding season coming up. And there are people who are keen to come to India as they do every year at this time of the year. What happens to their visas? Because we know it's a reality that many people, despite repeated urgings by our embassies, our consulates, and by the Ministry of External Affairs, have not availed of the OCI card. Now, are they stranded? Are we going to find ways to deal with it? People who have legitimate reasons to come to India over the next 3-4 months, however long it is. Secondly, in Amritsar, and I'm sure in other cities in Punjab, there's a real disquiet about people who have deposited fees, 15-20 lakhs for their kids to be admitted to Canadian universities, and who are now thinking, what's going to happen to their visas? Because even though the Canadians haven't announced it reciprocally and perhaps won't, because they need those students to fund their universities, but from the perspective of the persons whose kids are in the pipeline today, the downsizing of Canadian missions in Delhi means longer visa queues automatically. So I just wanted to say that there's a humanitarian
those are important
aspect.
points. I want Manjinder Sirsa from the BJP to respond. You're raising the concern about the community having a sense of being disquiet and concerned. There are families in Canada. Virtually everyone in Punjab has somebody in Canada and vice versa amongst the Punjabi community. Many of them want to come back. The holiday season is here. There are students who are in the pipeline to go. You want to reduce the size of the High Commission. That means that visa delays increase. It's already several months late. It could be delayed even further. Manjinder Sirsa, how does your government and your party respond to these concerns from Mr. Suri?
So definitely these are the biggest concerns when it comes to Punjab and the people living in Canada, because as Mr. Suri very well said, that most of the people are from Punjab. We are also concerned about that. We are also looking at that. The situation is getting turning to the worst point after the situation created by the Prime Minister of Canada when he threw out our diplomat.
But I was speaking earlier in the day to Bikram Majithia, and he said, why should an entire community, an entire state be punished for the actions of a few?
Definitely.
Target the Khalistanis, go after them rather than put the entire community and an entire state in a state of limbo.
No, nobody is putting an entire state or entire community. Definitely, that's a big challenge. As I very well said, it's a big case challenge for us also, because either half of the families in Canada and half of the families in Punjab. And we are facing, but the problem here is the question should be asked from Trudeau, not from the Indian Prime Minister, because he was the one who threw out our diplomat. He went to the parliament, said something, came out, and simply shot out
the difference is that
diplomat and said, you have to leave the country within 24 hours.
Asking a diplomat to leave is between governments. Asking a diplomat to leave is between governments. Putting all visas in suspension then impact the larger community, and there are many more Indians wanting to go to Canada than there are Canadians wanting to come to India.
So there are two different set of peoples. One are the Canadian. No Indian requires a visa. They already have a visa and have OCI card. But yes, the people who have taken the passport, Canadian passport, there will be no problem, and the government will take care of them also. It is not for the Indian peoples who want to come back. I'm sure that government will not see any single person get affected by this order. I'm sure about that.
Navdeep Suri raised the concern about students who are in the pipeline. If the High Commission gets, the staff strength is reduced, then there are concerns that there will be massive visa delays.
No, but visa delay from Canadian side or from Indian side? It cannot be from Indian side, because the Canadian visa is to issue by a Canadian government here in Delhi.
That's what I'm saying. So if they reduce the size of the High Commission, it will increase the pressure on the officers who are there. It will increase the time it will take for people to get visas.
No, Rahul, but that is not our concern. That has to be taken care by the Canadian government.
पर आप ही ने बोला ना उनको कि अपने बंदे कम करो, तो हमारा इम्पैक्ट तो सूरी साहब वही तो बोल रहे हैं, इम्पैक्ट तो हमारे बंदों पे है.
No, impact हमारे बंदों पे है definitely. पर जो visa, I'm just talking about the visa and the students in who want to travel from Punjab to Canada. So it is not our government who has to decide. It's Canadian government who has to decide this. So I don't believe that Surisa must be right on one part, that if we are not issuing a visa to the people living in Canada, that's a big question here. But when it comes to the people living in India want to go to Canada, that is a
Okay, let me get Navdeep Suri to respond very briefly because I have a lot of questions I want to go through, but let him respond to what he's heard from the BJP spokesperson, Mr. Suri.
I think, Sirsada, what I was trying to say is when we announced a decision for the Canadians to downsize their diplomatic representation in India to the same level as ours in Canada, it has an unintended consequence. And that unintended consequence is that there are fewer consular staff to process visas. That's the limited point I'm making, that it is the classic case of the law of unintended consequences, where the humanitarian impact will be felt in Punjab, and already people are talking about it. I'm saying this because I happen to be here.
No, sure. I want to run now and show our viewers responses to the other questions. And this is an interesting question from Yashwant Deshmukh's team, because a country like Israel, a country like the United States, especially post 9/11, has been going out and doing targeted killings of those who act against American interest. When a Zawahiri is killed or when an Osama bin Laden is killed, everyone watching typically tends to applaud. Well done, Obama. Well done, Bush. Should India do the same? Here are the responses to that question. This is going to generate a lot of chatter. This question from the political stock exchange: should terrorists be hunted and eliminated? 83%. 8 out of 10 respondents in this poll say yes, terrorists should be hunted and killed. Let's look at the responses from within Punjab. In Punjab as well, 64% of the respondents say terrorists should be hunted and killed. 17% say no. That is massive. That just suggests, remember, these are always controversial because it's extrajudicial. You're going into somebody else's country, killing a terrorist over there. If you get a big catch, your voters like it. It's always diplomatically tough to handle, but the mood in India, very clear and very direct. What's your reaction to the killing? What's your reaction to the expulsion of an Indian diplomat by Canada? 18% say it doesn't matter, no reaction. 39% say India should expel one Canadian diplomat, which it already has. Expel all Canadian diplomats, say 26%. That's a bit over the top, and that's just the populist mood. I won't take that very seriously. Is Trudeau supporting Khalistani terrorism? Let's come to this question. Is the government of Justin Trudeau and the Prime Minister himself supporting Khalistani terrorists? 60% say yes, 18% say no. In Punjab, responses to that same question are different quite naturally. Here, 39% are saying yes, 33% are saying no. Nationally, the number was 60 saying yes and 18% saying no. Yashwant Deshmukh, this one number that you've put out in this poll will generate a lot of chatter. 83% of the overall respondents say India should hunt down terrorists.
Yes, Rahul, and again, the highlight is not that how many want to say that the terrorists should be hunted down. The highlight for me is the sink of the opposition voter and the NDA supporters. What
Correct.
It tells us is that on certain issues, there are three different layers of question that we tried to ask. Number, we tried to check if people believe that Indian agencies did it. That was roughly in the 60s, that they believe that Indian agencies did not do it. Then we asked, what if they did it? Would that be a right thing to do? The number goes up to 70%, that, yeah, it's the right thing to do. And then we ask a sweeping question, should they be, eliminated altogether, and no matter where they are, kind of sentiment, it goes further to 80%. And regardless of the political divide, regardless of the ideology, the numbers are more or less in sync on the same line. What is important for here to understand why we ask this question and to understand is a fact that probably very, very fine line, Rahul, that Western press, Western media, and including Western diplomats should be understanding that many of them think that it's because of the current government in charge that, these kind of aggressions are coming in, these kind of emotions are coming in. But what they are not realizing that in a democracy like India, even if tomorrow Congress comes to power, even if tomorrow Mr. Rahul Gandhi becomes the Prime Minister, he just cannot do away with the public emotion on such an issue. Probably no matter who comes to power, he is going to toe the same line. He is going to take the same action. This is a different kind of India they are dealing with. Is the public emotion is very clear, regardless across the political support line, and that emotion is going to support no matter who becomes the prime minister, no matter who wins the election, this kind of public emotion is going to force the government that they are going to choose, whichever
Okay.
way they choose, to go about the way they want to go.
So, Brahma Chelani, if I were to enter the realm of speculation just for a moment, when Prime Minister Modi was in opposition campaigning to be Prime Minister as Chief Minister of Gujarat, he said publicly that why is Dawood Ibrahim not being taken down? What is this idea of just giving dossiers to Pakistan? Why can't we do more? We know that the likes of Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, again, he hasn't spoken when he's been in government, obviously, but while in opposition, advocated taking down terrorists and being far more proactive than our government had been in the past. Manohar Parrikar, when I interviewed him, spoke of using a thorn to take out another thorn. So one of the reasons why this is being said or looked at is because this government has been far more aggressive in its posture against terrorists than the government of Dr. Manmohan Singh.
You have to distinguish rhetoric from action. Has under Modi, India done any hit job? Are the terrorists based in Pakistan still thumping their noses at India? There are more than 100 UN designated terrorists based in Pakistan. Several of them are wanted in India for hundreds of murder. For example, Hafiz Saeed is wanted for the 2008 Mumbai massacre. What has India done to Hafiz Saeed or Masood Azhar or Dawood Ibrahim or name any other prominent terrorists? I mentioned earlier that Hardeep Singh Nijjar was a little known terrorist in India. If India has done nothing against the well-known, most wanted terrorists, you think India would have gone after Hardeep Singh Nijjar? And what is the basis of Trudeau's allegation? The police have not arrested a single suspect. They have not even found the car in which these killers escaped after killing Nijjar. There is no police statement of any kind. He's relying on inputs from intelligence. Intelligence is not evidence. But if you want to rely on intelligence, you can do what other governments have done in the past. They have provided photographic evidence, audio evidence, forensic evidence.
They claim to have evidence. Do you buy that, Brahma Chelani? They claim that there is evidence which has been shared with the Five Eyes country. Do you buy that, or do you think that's just posturing?
Nothing has been released. They're talking about surveilling Indian diplomats. Release the audio. For example, how did the Khashoggi case unfold? The Turkish government released video footage of Khashoggi going inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul and not coming out. They had audio evidence of screams inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. They provided clear evidence of Saudi Arabia's hand in the murder and disappearance of Khashoggi. I can name several other cases, famous international cases, where clinching evidence has been provided. Here, not even an audio has been released. See, when you rely on intel, you're basically getting into a spy game. Because what intelligence agencies do is they collect evidence, not collect information, not evidence, and the information is processed and tailored to advance the geopolitical interests of a country. Now, for example, in the present case, what they're calling credible allegations, look at it. They're not even calling it evidence. That's Trudeau's own words. Credible allegations, as if allegations can be credible. Allegations are allegations. There's credible evidence, but not credible allegations. And there is no evidence of any kind. Okay. So, but I think it's important to keep in mind one thing that about hit jobs, that when he stood up in Parliament, Trudeau, and mourned the death of this, what he called Canadian citizen, actually a dreaded international terrorist fugitive, and he offered condolences to Nijjar's family. That same Prime Minister last year celebrated publicly the US assassination of al-Zawahiri, saying it's a step toward a safer world. Same guy. Just look at his stunning hypocrisy. Al-Zawahiri was an old man, retired terrorist, of no threat to anybody. He was taken out by the Americans because Biden wanted to show that he's a tough leader after the debacle in Afghanistan, in surrendering Afghanistan to the Taliban. But here is Niger. He is being shielded by the Trudeau government. He's a threat to India. He's a threat to Canadian security. And yet, when he's dead, Trudeau sheds tears in Parliament. The guy's hypocrisy is appalling.
Now, Navdeep Suri, from a diplomatic lens, how do you respond to the overwhelming majority that seems to suggest that India should go out, in fact, and take down terrorists? Now, this is the kind of thing you never admit to, never accept publicly, legally, and yet at this moment, this growing desire to do what Israel or the United States do.
So I think, you have a disconnect between the sentiment that the public has articulated in your poll and what is very visible in social media, which is a back-slapping, back-chest-thumping kind of thing. Yes, we did it kind of sentiment. And you have the denial from the government. Maybe a better approach would be what the Israelis do so effectively, which is standard, neither confirm nor deny. That ambiguity that the Israelis use, and others use it too, keeps the deniability around. It also leaves the fear in the minds of those who may or may not be targeted, that the long arm of your law can reach out wherever you are if you have been guilty of perpetrating a terrorist act. But on Mr. Chalani's point, let me just say that it isn't as if nothing has been done. Now, what we have been fairly successful in, I think, over the last few years is using our excellent relationship with the Saudis and the Emiratis to secure the repatriation of people that we really wanted. Abu Jandal from Saudi Arabia, for example, who was involved in 26/11. Farooq Takla from Dubai, who was a henchman of Dawood Ibrahim's. So, at least at the diplomatic level and the much closer sharing of information and collaboration between the intelligence agencies at the highest levels has netted us a few gains. But, I want to just come also again to that difference in numbers between the rest of India and Punjab. Because I think what I hear around town is people saying, are our kids in Canada, are our brothers in Canada again going to have to be afraid that they may be dubbed a Khalistani, even though they have nothing to do with it? Will they be dubbed a terrorist? Will that travel become harder? It's something that your viewers should keep in mind, that if there is one thing that Sikhs in particular are sensitive about, is don't question their patriotism. They fight on the front line, and the evidence is there in all the tricolor wrapped bodies that come back. And it's a real sensitive pain point for anyone. And I've seen some uninformed commentary going around once again.
Absolutely. I saw from Kangana Ranaut as well. Just
anyone who
mindless commentary saying that Sikhs need to prove that they're not Khalistani. Sikhs don't need to prove that they're not Khalistani. The government needs to act against those who are, rather than trying to brandish an entire proud community in the same brush. That is completely abhorrent.
I think any community can have a loony fringe. Treat it as that. Keep it beyond the pale, and don't tarnish the mainstream.
Oh, absolutely. That is a very, very important messaging, because even during the farm protest, we saw some people, including ministers in the government, try and brandish or question the entire community, which is absolutely unacceptable and very unfortunate. Question those who pick up arms against the state or those who are fueling incendiary fires. You cannot make this an affront to the pride of an entire community. That is completely unacceptable. Are Indian diplomats in Canada safe? Here are the responses. 54% say yes, they are safe. 27% of the respondents say no, Indians in Canada are not safe. I'll show you the results in Punjab. 35% say yes, Indian diplomats in Canada are unsafe. 41% say no, they are not unsafe. So overall, 54% saying Indian diplomats in Canada are unsafe. Last question, are good relations with Canada now impossible? 37% of the respondents say it's impossible. We can't possibly have good relations with Canada. 39% of the respondents say no, it's still possible to have good relations with Canada. And that is where I wrap up this week's Political Stock Exchange. Very, very timely, this data set from Yashwant Deshmukh and his team at SeaVoter, because you've got your opinion and now you've got a lot of data with which you can judge and weigh that opinion in terms of whether it is in consonance with the national mood or the mood in Punjab or at variance. Yashwant Deshmukh for turning this around so quickly for us. A big thank you to you and your team at SeaVoter. Thank you, Navdeep Suri, for joining us, and also to Brahma Chalani and to Manjinder Sirsa. I'm slipping into a quick break right now. We'll have Bikram Singh Majithia, one of the senior most Akali leaders, former minister in the Prakash Singh Badal government in Punjab, joining us. A lot of concern in Punjab and in Canada around this decision. So we'll have Bikram Majithia speak about that when we come back on the other side of a quick break. Stay with us.
You are watching India
in
Today.
the same
Powered
direction.
by Finance.
Question
Be
number
sustainable
2
change.
on your screen
A
now.
BNP Group company.
What do you make of the charge that Justin Trudeau has leveled that India is responsible for the killing of Nijar? Here are the responses. 57% of the overall respondents say no, India is not responsible for killing Nijar. Even amongst those who said they voted for the opposition, 54% of the respondents say no, India did not kill Nijar. So the sentiment very strongly has people suggesting they don't think India is responsible for the killing of this Khalistani terrorist. Let's take a look at the responses in Punjab on the same question. Here, it's 37% saying no. Nationally, it was 57% saying no. So it's 20% less than that. 37% say no. 29% say yes. Nationally, it was 16. So 13% more people say India may have been responsible for the killing of the Khalistani terrorists. I want to show you question number 3.
Divisive है.
What if Indian agencies killed the Khalistani terrorists? What if India actually ordered an extrajudicial killing? Do you support that or not? They did the right thing, say 61. 6 out of 10 respondents in this SeaVoter India Today Political Stock Exchange tracker say yes, if India did kill a Khalistani terrorist, the government did the right thing, say 61, they are wrong, say 14. Let's look at the mood in Punjab on the same question. Even in Punjab, 40% of the respondents say yes, they did the right thing. They are wrong, say 25. This is, of course, India has denied that they are responsible for the killing of the Khalistani terrorists. But even if that is somehow true, in Punjab also 40% say yes, that's the right thing. Nationally, that number was at 61. So with this, now let me introduce our guests who are joining me on this broadcast.
And the moment
I
of
want to
anxiety now
welcome
is
first
that
Yashwant
we are
Deshmukh,
waiting
the
for
lead
the
cephalogist at
wake-up call
SeaVoter.
to get activated.
With us also on this broadcast for context and perspective is Brahma Chalani, one of India's best-known strategic affairs experts. We have Navdeep Singh Suri, distinguished fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, former ambassador. And we have Manjinder Singh Sirsa, National Secretary and spokesperson of the BJP. I want to go across first and foremost to Yashwant Deshmukh. On your numbers, the mood very clearly seems to suggest that people think that Trudeau is doing what he is because he wants to benefit in the Canadian elections and because he's under pressure from pro-Khalistani elements inside Canada.
In Hyderabad, 14.
Well, Rahul, one very interesting thing which is coming from this particular round of PSE poll, from us. Earlier, every time we did a tracking poll on any such pressing issue, we could see a very, very partisan kind of answers based on the political
Joining us now
orientation,
live and
ideology.
exclusive from
I guess that
Chandigarh is
after
one
a
of the
long
senior-most
time,
Akali
after,
leaders, General Secretary of
we
the
got to
Akali
an
Dal,
issue where
Bikram
actually
Singh
there is
Majithia
hardly
now
any
joins
division
me
as far
on
as the
India Today.
opposition
Majithia
voters
Sahab,
or
Sat Sri
NDA
Akal,
voters
welcome.
are concerned.
I want to
So
start by
particularly
asking
this is,
you about
and
the
also the
decision of the
fact
Ministry
that,
of External
even though,
Affairs to
I was expecting
suspend
some difference
temporarily
as far as
visas to
response
Canadian
from
nationals
rest of
who
India
may
and
wish to
Punjab
come
is
to India. This
concerned,
has
but
caused a
it
lot
is
of
not
chatter
as big a
in
change
Punjab
that would have
amongst
been
those who are hoping to
contrasting
go
of
out,
sorts.
who have family
So,
in Canada.
arguably,
As
this is
a
one,
former senior minister of
ironically,
the
for
Akali
Canada and
government
Trudeau,
in Punjab,
it is one
what do
thing,
you make
one
of
issue
the manner
which
in
has
which
kind of
India-Canada ties
united
seem to
more
be
or less people
spiraling down a
across
very
India,
slippery
and,
slope?
and whatever the way many in the
I
West
think,
might
Rahul,
have
it's
been
very
thinking
sad.
of Indians having different
As
opinion or different
mature
idea on
democracies
this
and as
particular
one of the largest
power play or
democracy and
game
one
of
of the
That's
oldest
a very
democracies,
important point Yashwant
you need
Deshmukh
to handle things,
makes,
handle
because
these
since the
issues
time
very
I've been
differently.
running
Because
the
one has
results
to
of the
realize
political
one
stock
thing, that every
exchange
second
on
house
no
in
issue
Punjab has a
has
family
the
member
opinion
sitting
amongst
in Canada.
opposition voters and government voters been so
It's
aligned
going to
as it
send
is on
a
the issue
lot
of India-Canada,
lot of
Trudeau's
heartburn,
charges
and there are going to be
India's
lots
pushback.
of
That shows
economic,
the level of congruence there
social,
is across the
personal
political divide.
losses that will be
Brahma
caused
Chalani,
to people.
57% of the
a
respondents
child who
nationally
wants to
say
get
India
back
did
to
not
his
kill
ailing
the
parents,
Khalistani
that he
terrorists.
cannot come back,
And even if
or
it were
some
true
old parent
that
who
Indian
wants to
agencies
quickly
did kill the
has
Khalistani
an
terrorists,
health issue that has to be
61%
addressed,
seem to
or
support the move.
someone's
What do you make of the
expecting,
kind of
wants to be
responses
with
we've
the
picked up in
mother,
the political stock
someone's
exchange?
passed away, and it's
Well, first, when you
this
have a
particular
dreaded
season now that's
international
coming up.
fugitive
October,
that is
November,
wanted in India
December,
for
January,
multiple
February,
acts of
March
terror,
are those months
including
when you see
bombing a
the
cinema that
maximum
killed
number of
or wounded
the
46
Punjabi
people.
diaspora
He
coming
also
back to
assassinated
India
a
and Punjab.
politician.
And
So
they've got
obviously,
serious family
his
ties
death,
here.
by whatever
Whether
means,
it's a celebration in the
can only be
family,
welcomed by people
whether
in
it
India.
is any
You won't find a
personal or
majority
social
European
function, or whether
opposing
they're religious
the
functions.
fact that he
You have
died,
a lot of
that he
people
died.
coming
Whether he
in
died
for
of natural cause
the
or
New
he
Year's.
died of
But Majithia
unnatural
Sahab,
cause,
nobody who already
that's a
has a
different issue.
visa has been
But the
stopped
fact
from
that
coming back.
a dreaded
It's only
terrorist
Canadian
is
nationals
gone
who don't have
is
Indian
something
visas who
that
are now
Indians can
wanting
only
to apply
welcome.
for Indian visas. That's the only bar India
Do you
has
want to
put
just
at the moment,
quickly
sir.
recap for those watching the charges against KS
You know,
Nijjar,
it needs to be
a lot of people
spelled
in
out
Canada
very
and elsewhere
clearly.
trying to
If you
project
read
him as
the newspapers
Sikh
today,
preacher in
and
charge
you
of a
read what
Gurdwara,
people
a
are
man of
talking about,
religion,
there,
not a man of violence.
it's about one individual.
The thing
Sort
is that
matter
like
out the way it needs to be
some of the
sorted out. Law should
prominent
be enforced.
fugitives from
Whatever
India
is the
that are
truth should
based
come out. But why
in
should
Canada's
everybody
British Columbia province
be put in the dock
these guys
because of
entered
actions of a
Canada
few?
illegally, including
Punjabis
Mr.
are not
Nijjar.
known for that.
They
Punjabis are the
entered
most
Canada illegally
patriotic
with the help
people.
of criminal
And
bands.
it's so
And
sad that why should
Given
a
the growing
Punjabi
Sikh
suffer
militancy
because
in
of
British
actions
Columbia, in
of
particular in Canada,
one
there is a
individual?
growing nexus between
And
criminal bands and
Rahul, you're saying this,
radical
but the
Khalistanis,
general
which
impression
has led
is
to
people have started
frequent
cancelling their
killings.
cancelling their bookings.
Nijjar
People
was
who
very
had
much
booked
part
for
of
weddings,
this
they had
nexus.
a lot of Canadians,
In
friends
fact,
and family
after
coming
he
in.
illegally entered Canada,
They've
twice
started
he applied
cancellation
for
because
refugee status, and each
this
time
uncertainty is not
his
going to help both the
application
countries,
was
I feel.
rejected by
Your
authorities.
dialogue can never stop.
That's the
And I
background of
feel,
this guy who was wanted in India for
if you
multiple
continue
acts
with
of
your
terror.
dialogue,
But
continue with trade,
he was not on India's
it's
list
when
of
things
most wanted terrorists.
only get
So
better. You shut
need
it
to
down
make
with
that clear,
Pakistan,
because
things have only
there
got
are a
bad
number
to
of
worse.
terrorists.
What do you make of
hiding
the
abroad.
charges
There
that
are
Justin
household names in
Trudeau,
India. For
Prime
example,
Minister of
everybody
Canada,
knows
has
about
levelled against
Hafiz
India?
Saeed,
Never before has
Masood
India been
Azhar,
accused of
etc.
carrying out an
Dawood Abraham
assassination
is another
on foreign
example.
soil by a
But,
Western
you know,
power.
until this guy
he didn't provide any evidence.
died,
He spoke of
not many people knew
allegations,
about him in India.
not of evidence, but he spoke
Because
of
he was
credible
not among the
allegations.
most wanted
That's a bit
terrorists
of an
in India.
oxymoron because it's
Okay.
essentially an allegation
Now,
in the
Manjinder
absence
Singh
of any
Sirsa,
material evidence.
you know,
What
what
do you
is
make of the
interesting
charge
in the
that the Canadian
data
Prime
is
Minister
the
has levelled
fact
against
that
the
whether the
Indian state?
voter is an NDA voter or he's voting for the opposition. There is a
I'm
high level of
too
alignment
small a fry
on
to
questions
comment
to do with
on two governments
India, Canada,
or
Khalistan,
two
Trudeau's
prime
action, the
ministers.
charges. It seems
But
the
I'll
mood
tell you
in
one
the
thing,
country
the truth
is
has to come
very
out.
similar,
You
regardless
cannot
of which
make
side one
mere,
sits on the political divide.
allegations and get away. There are reasonable people sitting on either side
similar.
who are going to now
Reason being,
question this
everybody
action,
is a patriot
question
here,
what he said
and when
in
it comes
Parliament.
to a country,
We all have
I don't
we
feel
have
any
great
single
respect for
person
the
will
democratic
stay,
systems in both the
say that I
countries.
don't stand with
But
my
end
country.
of the day,
Now, where the
nobody will
question
be
is that
allowed to
Trudeau
get
is
away
raising
by
this
just
issue in the
making a
Parliament.
statement.
Being a prime
You
minister
will
is
have
supposed to give
to put
evidence.
the
thereby
evidence
saying,
on the table.
Yeah, I doubt.
Otherwise, you're going to come
Or
out looking very
मुझे शक है,
stupid.
or something word
And
like this
and
cannot be
I'm
a word
nobody to
for an
comment on that.
international
Let the
when you are
agencies
using
do
this
their
for a
work. If he
counterpart
has
with other
evidence, he
country,
should
vice
put it
versa.
out instead of
So,
just I've
by
been
saying
reading his
this,
statements.
that I doubt that India could be involved or India could be
there's
involved
like
in this
you and me,
act
everybody
of
has
violence
question
or
marks about
this
it.
killing.
He
By simply
talks
saying
about
that yesterday
credible
also he gave a
reasons.
statement. He said India should
We are talking about credible
join
evidence
us. India
now.
should help us out.
You can't accuse another
that,
country like
whether he
this,
has
and
asked
you
any kind of
cannot.
help,
People
whether India has
cannot
denied
suffer
any kind
because of
help,
your
he never said
politics
this.
or anybody's
So
politics.
everybody in this nation
And
knew
let me
now
tell you one
that
thing. I'm
what Trudeau did
repeatedly
is
saying
it's a
this.
political
That
stunt.
you know,
He did, why he did so? Because he had a
it's so
backlash
sad
when he
what's
went
been happening
back
over the
to
last 2 days,
Canada
and
from
it
India,
really
because
pains
nobody
to see
in
this
G20,
happening.
the other
Today's
countries
newspaper is
made
full
America,
about
England, nobody cares for
NIA
him.
has
So that was the media
issued
was doing its life like that
a
was the
statement
reason
where
he came
there
out
are
of the
these
parliament, suddenly raised this
Khalistanis,
question.
and all
So
of
even
them
if he was aware of this fact,
an impression goes
before
out
coming
as
to
if
India, he could
Sikhs
have
are
said
the only
that, or
Khalistanis.
this he could have
We are
waited
the
to
most
conclude the
peace-loving,
investigation. And thirdly,
patriotic
day
people
before
out
yesterday,
there.
another
Every
criminal
ardas
was
of
killed
ours
there.
is
Another
about
mafia don or
Sarbat
whatever you
Pala.
say was killed there. Who is
So,
responsible for his killing?
to make a
Who is responsible
narrative,
for
to
his
build
killing?
a narrative
Absolutely.
of this
So,
sort,
Navdeep
is
Suri, you've been
so sad.
Okay.
And it's
Navdeep
all,
Suri, you've been a
end of
diplomat.
the
You
day,
also
I think
understand
it's,
politics.
time will tell.
I want to show our
But
viewers
it's all going to
the
come down to
current
politics.
popularity numbers of Justin
Hardeep Singh
Trudeau,
Nijjar, who was a very
relative
vocal
to
advocate
his
for
opponents
Khalistan.
in Canadian
India
politics. There's an
describes
election
him
coming
as
up in a year or so
terrorist.
from now.
The government
Who
of
is the
Justin Trudeau
preferred
not even willing to
prime
concede that
ministerial
Hardeep
candidate?
Singh Nijjar was
Trudeau's
up to
popularity
secessionist
stands at only
activities.
31%.
When we see
40%
how
would
Trudeau
like
and
his
government
principal
clamp
opponent, Pierre
down on
Poilievre,
truckers who are
to be the
protesting
next
or
prime
those who
minister.
don't like his vaccine
22% want
He's
Jagmeet
applying
Singh of
very
the
firm
NDP.
national security
Remember,
laws.
Trudeau
But when it
and
comes
Jagmeet
to
Singh are in an
secession,
alliance,
separatism
and
directed at India,
Pierre
Trudeau
Poilievre
suddenly
is
gets
at 40%.
very liberal about
He's
it.
number one. Now, this assertion that's being made that he's doing this to
You know,
salvage
Rahul, I am nobody to
popularity
comment on what
ratings.
Mr.
To what
Trudeau
extent
is
do you
saying or
believe that
doing.
that could be
It's
true?
his
Because
internal
even in the
politics.
sea water
Yes, we
data,
need to protect
most
our
people
country.
think he's doing it to
And,
benefit in local
one
elections,
thing we
and he's
must
under pressure from the
realize that
Khalistani lobby.
even the latest Galwan clashes.
Well, I think that seems
or any,
self-evident, and he's been doing
incident
this
before that,
for several
whenever
years.
India's been at war with anyone, the maximum,
attachment to
the
the
most
Khalistani
supreme
lobby seems to be
sacrifices have
directly
been made by
proportional
Punjabis, and we
to
should
his
remember that
polling
always.
numbers.
So,
but
Trudeau
otherwise, we've
is
seen it in his
what
Bhangra
Trudeau-
gigs, we've
what
seen
is
him
Trudeau's
in his
politics, I
various
cannot comment
appearances,
on that. Yes,
trying
we
to
will
curry
protect our
favor
borders.
with
We
a
need to
section
protect
of
our
the Sikh
country.
community
But at the
in,
same time,
in
we
Canada.
Punjabis
But Rahul, I
are
want
the
to make 2
most
points,
patriotic
if I may.
people, and I'm
One is
going to
because
repeat
perhaps I'm
that
sitting
time
in
and again.
Amritsar,
Because it's
and
a
you've
time and tested
drawn
fact.
a poll in Punjab.
And actions of a few,
so let me take
you
a
cannot
shot
paint
at the very
Punjab or
interesting
any
numbers
turbaned
that you
man
threw
in a
up.
particular way. That's what's bothering
Even
me
while
today.
there's a great deal of
no, absolutely. You don't even need to keep
agreement,
saying that. I think
and your
everyone who's
numbers
watching
showed that,
realizes and acknowledges
that
fully
on
the
the
patriotism and the
India-Canada
bravery
issue,
of
India is doing
the
the
Sikh
right
community.
thing, and,
So, Rahul,
there was no difference between your numbers in India
that
as
leads
a
me to
whole
the
and in
second
Punjab.
question.
But there is a real
because
disquiet
the
in
maximum
Punjab
number of
because it
people going out to
disproportionately
Canada are
sends people
Punjabis.
to Canada, right?
And all
of
these
the
disruptions
millions
by
strong
both the
whatever
government
Indian community
is in some
60%
way or
is
the
from
other,
Canada.
directly or
and
indirectly,
today
going
when
to
you
hurt
read the
that
headlines and you
community,
look at all the newspapers and listen
maximum.
to some of the commentary on YouTube,
No, but how do you
the
then
sense you get is two
suggest that
kinds
the
of
government
worry.
deal with this issue?
One
Because
is
with the
people
likes
whose
of
families
Hardeep
are
Nijjar
in Canada
and what we're seeing in
and
Australia,
who were
the
waiting
UK,
for their
the
parents
Khalistani
and
movement,
others.
with the help
There's a
of the
holiday season
ISI
coming up,
backing
there's a
and funding,
festive season coming
seems
up,
to
there's
be
a wedding
getting some
season
kind of
coming
a
up.
second life,
And there are
not
people
in
who
a
are keen
secessionist,
to come to
violent
India
form, but
and
at
they
least
as
do
far
every
as
year at this time of
propaganda,
the year.
as far as trying to build
What
a
happens to
narrative
their
is
visas?
concerned,
Because we know it's a
they're now
reality
more vocal
that
than they've
many
been
people,
since the
despite
mid-90s.
repeated
So
urgings
what do
by
you think
our
about those
embassies,
who
our
think that the
consulates,
ghosts
and by
of
the
Khalistan
Ministry of
are
External
coming
Affairs
back in
have
some
not
way
availed
and
of
that
the
this is
OCI
more
card?
vocal
Now,
and more
are they
visible than it
stranded?
has
Are we
been in
going
the
to
past 2
find
decades.
ways to deal with it? People who have legitimate reasons to come to India.
Rahul, I
over
find
the
it
next
so
3-4
amusing
months,
that we
however
even give
long
this
it is.
importance.
Secondly,
Because
in
the people
Amritsar,
of, you have
and
to
I'm
ask
sure
the
in other
people of
cities in
Punjab, where are they
Punjab,
planning to
there's
make
a
this Khalistan?
real disquiet about
Like
people
it's
who have
their
deposited fees,
Canadian
15, 20
Premier, Mr.
lakhs
Ujjwal
for their
Dasan
kids to
said,
be admitted
and I
to
read one of his
Canadian
statements,
universities,
where he
and
said
who are
that
now
if they are
thinking,
talking about
what's going to
Khalistan,
happen to
let them
their
make it in
visas?
Canada
Because
first.
even though the
People in
Canadians haven't
Punjab
announced
are
it
very happy
reciprocally and perhaps
in the present
won't, because
system.
they need those students to fund
Why
their
are we so
universities.
concerned
But from the
about what
perspective
you
of the persons
Canadians
whose
are
kids
saying
are
who
in
are
the
never going to be coming
pipeline
back to India?
today,
Let us
the
live in peace,
downsizing
man.
of Canadian missions in Delhi
No, but
means longer visa
I
queues
think it's
automatically.
more about it's.
So I
sorry
just
to
wanted to say
but
that
it's
there's a
becoming
humanity.
more
Those are
about
important
politics
points. I
now.
want Manjinder Sirsa
It's
from
less
the
about
BJP
the
to
facts,
respond.
because you come
You're
out to the
raising the
streets of
concern
Punjab.
about the community
This is not
having
even
a
an
sense
issue.
of being disquiet and concerned.
We are peace-loving,
There are families in
happy-go-lucky
Canada. Virtually
people.
everyone in Punjab has
And
somebody in Canada
day
and vice
in and
versa
day out pray
amongst
for
the Punjabi
everybody's
community.
happiness.
Many of them want to come
So
back. The
what
holiday
a couple
season
of
is
you,
here.
and I feel
There are
India is
students who
strong
are in the
enough
pipeline to go.
to handle
You
a few
want to reduce the
Johnnies
size of
who
the
are
High
making
Commission.
such
That means that
statements.
visa
No, but these
delays
Johnnies seem to be
increased.
creating
It's
a lot of
already,
trouble. For example,
several
if you
months
see
late, it could be delayed even
Pannu
further.
seems to be making
Manjinder
very
Sirsa, how does your
incendiary
government and your
comments,
party respond to these
including
concerns, Mr.
asking
Suri?
for action to be taken against Indian
So
diplomats.
definitely these are the
calling
biggest
for
concerns when it
action
comes to
against
Punjab and the people living
Hindus
in
who
Canada,
are in
because
Canada
as
and
Mr. Suri
elsewhere
very
saying
well
that they are
said that most of
anti-Canada.
the people
Now,
are
if
from
somebody listens
Punjab.
to a joker
We
like
are also
Pannu, a
concerned
terrorist
about
like
that. We
Pannu,
are also
that
looking
could
at that.
actually
The
cause
situation is
trouble
getting
because he is making
turning to the
highly
worst
incendiary
point
comments.
after
What action do you
the
think we should
situation
take against
created by
someone like a
the
Pannu?
Prime Minister of Canada, when he threw out our diplomat.
But I was speaking
without-
earlier in
I
the
think
day
you shouldn't
to
even listen to
Vikram
that,
Majiti,
Johnny.
and he said, why should an entire community, an entire
He's
state be
just
punished for the
making those
actions of a few?
statements so that he
Target
can be
the
heard.
Khalistanis, go after them
And we
rather
are
than put
giving
the
him
entire
undue
community and an
importance.
entire
The man
state
is good
in a
for
state of limbo.
nothing. He's a lost case.
No, nobody is putting an
He's
entire
not
state or entire
capable
community.
or in
Definitely,
any
that's a
position
big
to
challenge. As I
harm
very well said,
India.
it's a big case challenge for us also. Because
India is a
half of the
strong
families in
country,
Canada and half
and we
of the
keep
families in
boasting
Punjab.
about us being
And we are
strong.
facing,
Then
but the
let's
problem here is
not
the
bother
question
about
should be
such
asked from
jokers
Trudeau,
making any
not
statement. Are you
from the
going
Indian
to
Prime
get
Minister,
everybody to
because he
keep their
was the
mouth
one who
shut?
threw out our diplomat.
There are going to be number of such
He went to the
jokers
parliament,
making crazy
said
No, but the
statements all the
Disa,
time.
no.
Simply
Sir,
shut
sir,
out
the
our
difference
I
is
think they've
that
been given
Said you have to
undue
leave the country
importance.
within 24
asking a
hours.
diplomat to leave
But sir,
is
the
between
fact is that
governments.
You look at the
Asking a
large
diplomat to
majority
leave is
of
between
Punjabis
governments.
in
Putting
Canada.
all
Hindus
visas in
to leave,
suspension
he's calling them
then impact a
anti-Canada.
larger
Now,
community,
if
and there are
somebody
many
is
more
saying-
Indians
you're saying
wanting
he's a
to go
joker,
to Canada
ignore
than
him.
there are
Now,
Canadians
if most
wanting to
people
come to
did that,
India.
great. But what if those few
there are two different
who
set of
believe
peoples.
in
One are
him
the
start
Canadians.
listening
No
to him
Indian
and start
requires
taking
a
action,
visa.
then
They already have a
suddenly
visa and
what is
OCI
just
card.
a
But yes,
verbal
the people who have
statement
taken
then becomes a
the
violent
passport,
act.
Canadian passport there will be a problem, and the government will take care of them also. It is not for the
You know,
Indian people who want to come back.
I've been
I'm
watching,
sure that government
we've been
will
hearing
not
about
see
this
any single person
Johnny for a
get
very
affected
long
by this
time.
order. I'm sure about that.
He
Navdeep
just
Suri raised
makes
the
these
concern about students who are in the pipeline.
which mean nothing.
If the High
And
Commission
he makes it on
gets,
every Independence Day, every
the staff
Republic
strength
Day.
is
It's
reduced,
his way of making
then
money,
there are
and we
concerns that
should
there will be
realize
massive
that.
visa delays.
A person,
but visa delay from Canadian side
I
or from
find it
Indian side?
very
It cannot be
amusing,
from Indian
rather.
side because
Nobody
Canada,
even listens to
Canadian
him.
visa is to issue by a Canadian government.
I think
here
we are
in
giving
Delhi.
him too much
That's what I'm saying.
importance.
If they reduce the size of the High Commission, it will increase the pressure on the officers who are there. It will increase the time it will take for people to get
What we
visas.
should do with Justin Trudeau, quite naturally,
Rahul,
that's
but
something
that
for the
is
central
not
government
our
to deal
concern.
with.
That has to be taken care
Spoken
by
for
the
and express the voice of the
Canadian
concern of the
government.
people
पर
of
आप ही ने
Punjab,
बोला
and
ना
those who have
उनको कि
family
अपने
and
बंदे
friends,
कम
which
करो
is
तो हमारा impact तो
most
सुरी
in
साहब वही तो
Punjab,
बोल रहे हैं
quite
impact
frankly.
तो
Thank you
हमारे
very
बंदों
much
पे
for
है.
joining us. Appreciate your time. Bikram Singh Majitia,
No,
senior
impact
Akali
हमारे
Dal
बंदों पे है,
leader, speaking to us
definitely.
on
पर जो
the
visa, I'm
downward
just talking about
spiral
the
in the
visa
ties
and the
between
students.
India and Canada. Majitia Saab,
don't
thank you.
want want to travel from Punjab to Canada. So it is not our government who has to decide. Canadian government who has to decide this. So I don't believe that tourism must be right on one part, that if we are not issuing a visa to the people living in Canada, that's a big question here. But when it comes to the people living in India want to go to Canada, that is a...
Okay, let me get
You are
Navdeep Suri to
watching
respond
India
very
Today.
briefly because I have a lot
Powered
of
by
questions I want to go
Finance,
through.
be
But let him
sustainable
respond to
change.
what he's
A
heard from the
B&B
BJP spokesperson.
group company.
I think, Sirsada, what I was trying to say is, when we announced a decision for the Canadians to downsize their diplomatic representation in India to the same level as ours in Canada, it has
This
an
entire
unintended
matter was
consequence.
handled.
And
To
that
begin with,
unintended
the first
consequence
statement that
is
went out
that
from Prime
there are
Minister
fewer
Justin
consular
Trudeau
staff to
about
process
India
visas.
being behind
That's
the
the
killing
limited point
of
I'm making,
Khalistani
that
terrorist
it is the classic case of
without
the
there
law of
being any
unintended
proof.
consequences, where the humanitarian impact
Well, what I think has
will
happened
be
is
felt
that
in
in
Punjab, and
Canada,
already people are
we've
talking
seen a
about
lot
it.
of
I'm saying
people
this
who
because I
are
happen to be
in
here.
India who are
No, sure.
Hindus who
I
start
want
to
to
feel
run
like
now
second-class
and show
citizens over
our
time, just
viewers
because of the way
responses
that
to
the
the other
Indian government
questions.
tends to
And
treat
this is an interesting question from
Sikhs
Yashwant
and Muslims
Deshmukh's
as
team,
being sort of
because
higher priority
a
diaspora.
country like Israel,
and
a
that
country
I
like
think
the United
this
States,
current scandal with Justin Trudeau
especially
has really
post
highlighted
9/11, has
that
been going
really
out and doing
certain
targeted
communities seem
killings
to
of
be
those who
able
act
to
against
just do no
American
wrong in his eyes.
interests.
So
When a
he's
Zawahiri
very
is
soft
killed,
on
when an Osama
Khalistani
bin Laden is
extremism,
killed,
where
everyone watching
Hindu
typically
Canadians
tends
tend
to
to get
applaud.
ignored and
Well
also
done, Obama.
belittled
Well
when it
done,
comes
Bush.
to their concerns about
Should India do
extremism
the same?
and
Here are the
very violent
responses
rhetoric
to that
towards
question.
their
This
homeland
is
and their
going to
home
generate
government.
a lot of chatter. This
You know,
question
also,
from
there is,
the
in
political
fact, like you
stock
said, no
exchange: should
evidence as far
terrorists
as
be
this entire
hunted
issue is
and
concerned,
eliminated?
but it clearly
83%.
appears that
8 out of 10
rumors and
respondents
hearsay
in this
and
poll
what
say
lies
yes,
that
terrorists
Khalistanis
should
have
be
been
hunted
peddling
and
was
killed.
clearly sold as so-called evidence,
Let's look at the
isn't it, by Prime
responses
Minister
from within
of Canada.
Punjab. In Punjab as well, 64%
Well, they didn't have any
of the respondents
information.
say
They basically just
terrorists
came
should
out
be
with an
hunted and
accusation
killed.
and then assumed that
17%
it was going to be
say
quickly
no.
backfilled.
That is
so
massive.
then
That just
when
suggests,
they were
remember,
basically
these are
pressured today
always
with after they kicked an
controversial
Indian diplomat out of the
because
country,
it's
and then India
extrajudicial,
responded
you're going into
like
somebody else's
rightfully in
country,
kind,
killing
that people were pressuring
a
them to
terrorist
come out
over
with
there.
evidence, and they just
If
so
you get
far
a
haven't.
big
Justin
catch,
Trudeau did that
your
pathetic
voters
press
like it.
conference
It's
where he
always
came out
diplomatically
and basically just said
tough
there's
to handle,
substantial
but the mood in
accusations
India,
after he was
very
asked by
clear
Canadian media, do you
and
have
very
substantial
direct.
evidence? And
What's
if it's
your
just
reaction to the
substantial
killing?
accusations,
What's your
that doesn't
reaction
mean
to the
anything.
expulsion
All it means
of an
is
Indian
that you
diplomat
have,
by
you just
Canada?
have potentially conspiracy
18%
theories
say it
being
doesn't
spread
matter.
by
No
Khalistanis.
reaction.
Even the
39%
CBC, who
say
is like Canada's
India
state
should expel
broadcaster,
one
are
Canadian
basically
diplomat,
acting
which
like
it already
lackeys
has.
of the Liberals, and then
Expel
pretending
all
like
Canadian
background
diplomats. Say
rumors
26%, that's a
are
bit over the top,
can be
and that's just
substituted
the
as
populist
evidence.
mood. I won't take that very seriously. Is Trudeau supporting Khalistani terrorism? Let's come to this question. Is the government of Justin Trudeau and the Prime Minister himself supporting Khalistani terrorists? 60% say yes, 18% say no. In Punjab, responses to that same question are different quite naturally. Here, 39% are saying yes, 33% are saying no. Nationally, the number was 60 saying yes and 18% saying no. Yashwant Deshmukh, this one number that you've put out in this poll will generate a lot of chatter. 83% of the overall respondents say India should hunt down terrorists.
Yes, Rahul, and again the highlight is not that how many want to say that the terrorists should be hunted down. The highlight for me is the sink of the opposition voter and the NDA supporters. What it tells us is that on certain issues, there are three different layers of question that we try to ask. Number, we try to check if people believe that Indian agencies did it. That was roughly in the 60s, that they believe that Indian agencies did not do it. Then we asked, what if they did it? Would that be a right thing to do? The number goes up to 70%. You know, that, yeah, it's the right thing to do. And then we ask a sweeping question. Should they be, eliminated altogether, and no matter where they are, kind of sentiment, it goes further to 80%. And regardless of the political divide, regardless of the ideology, the numbers are more or less in sync on the same line. What is important for here to understand, why we ask this question and to understand, is the fact that probably very, very fine line, Rahul, that Western press, Western media, and including Western diplomats should be understanding that many of them think that it's because of the current government in charge that, these kind of aggressions are coming in, these kind of emotions are coming in. But what they are not realizing that in a democracy like India, even if tomorrow Congress comes to power, even if tomorrow Mr. Rahul Gandhi becomes the Prime Minister, he just cannot do away with the public emotion on such an issue. Probably no matter who comes to power, he is going to do the same line, he is going to take the same action. This is a different kind of India they are dealing with. Is the public emotion is very clear, regardless across the political support line, and that emotion is going to support no matter who becomes the Prime Minister, no matter who wins the election. This kind of public emotion is going to force the government that they are going to choose, whichever way they choose, to go about the way they want to go.
So, Brahma Chelani, if I were to enter the realm of speculation just for a moment, when Prime Minister Modi was in opposition campaigning to be Prime Minister, as Chief Minister of Gujarat, he said publicly that why is Dawood Ibrahim not being taken down? What is this idea of just giving dossiers to Pakistan? Why can't we do more? We know that likes of Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, again, he hasn't spoken when he's been in government, obviously, but while in opposition, advocated taking down terrorists and being far more proactive than our government had been in the past. Manohar Parrikar, when I interviewed him, spoke of using a thorn to take out another thorn. So one of the reasons why this is being said or looked at is because this government has been far more aggressive in its posture against terrorists than the government of Dr. Manmohan Singh.
You have to distinguish rhetoric from action. Has under Modi, India done any hit job? Are the terrorists based in Pakistan still thumping their noses at India? There are more than 100 UN designated terrorists based in Pakistan. Several of them are wanted in India for hundreds of murders. For example, Hafiz Saeed is wanted for the 2008 Mumbai massacre. What has India done to Hafiz Saeed or Masood Azhar or Dawood Abraham or name any other prominent terrorists? I mentioned earlier that Hardeep Singh Nijjar was a little-known terrorist in India. If India has done nothing against the well-known, most wanted terrorists, you think India would have gone after Hardeep Singh Nijjar? And what is the basis of Trudeau's allegation? The police have not arrested a single suspect. They have not even found the car in which these killers escaped after killing Nijjar. There is no police statement of any kind.
Oh, don't go to Canada. Don't go here. This is real. This is going to seriously affect Indian Canadians, Indians wanting to come to Canada, people wanting to go to India. It's going to be a mess for a lot of people. And it's going to look really, really bad on the Canadian government.
Have done in the past.
It's going to force this. The Indian government's forced the Trudeau government's hand domestically into addressing this situation.
Do you buy that? Unless they claim that there is evidence which is being shared with the Five Eyes country. Do you buy that, or do you think that's just posture?
Finest, be sustainable change.
Nothing has been released. They're talking about surveilling
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist.
For example, how did
Co-presented by JK Tyre Ranger Series. Stay wild at heart.
Unfold.
Co-presented by
The Turkish government
Green Like
released
E0. Co-powered
video
by
footage of
PolicyBazaar.com.
going
Her family
inside the
hogi in
Saudi
short.
consulate in Istanbul
Co-powered
and
by
not
the
coming
bold
out.
look of Kohler.
They had audio evidence of screens inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. They provided clear evidence of Saudi Arabia's hand in the murder and disappearance of
Good evening, hello, and
Khashoggi.
welcome to the news today. This is your prime-time destination. News, newsmakers, talking points Friday night.
Clinching
Our
evidence
top
has been
focus on
provided.
abusive hate
Here,
speech in
not
Parliament,
even
a
an
new
audio
law.
has been
BSP
released.
MP Danish Ali, who
See,
was
when you
targeted
rely on
by the BJP's
intel,
Ramesh Biduri,
you're
will speak
basically
out.
getting into
We'll
a
tell
spy
you more
game.
when he joins us.
Because
also,
what
as the
intelligence agencies
India-Canada
do
standoff
is
continues,
they collect
what are
evidence,
India's
not
realistic
collect
diplomatic
information, not
options?
evidence.
Top diplomats
And the
will join
information
us
is
from both
processed
countries.
and
But first, as
tailored to
always,
advance
it's time
geopolitical
for the
interests
9
of the country.
headlines at 9
Now,
tonight.
for example, in the case of,
BJP MP
in the present
Ramesh
case,
Biduri
what
heard
they're
shocking,
calling
hateful,
credible
anti-Muslim hate
allegations.
speech
Look at it.
remarks
It's not even,
against
they're not even
BSP
calling it
MP
evidence.
Danish
You know,
Ali
the Trudeau's own
inside
words.
Parliament.
Credible
Opposition demands
allegations,
Biduri's
as if
immediate suspension.
allegations can be
BJP
credible.
issues a
Allegations
show-cause
are
notice.
allegations. There's
Still no
credible
action
evidence,
taken by
but
the
not
Lok Sabha Speaker.
credible
Om Birla.
allegations. You know, and there is no evidence of any
Amidst
kind.
India-Canada diplomatic
but I think it's
standoff,
important to
sources claim
keep in
Canada
mind one
ignored
thing, that
India's deputation request
that,
for
you
the
know, about
wanted
hit
terrorists.
jobs.
But the US
That's-
now wades in,
when he
says
stood
no
up in
special
Parliament,
exemption
Trudeau,
will be given to
and
India
moaned
over
the
Trudeau's
death of this,
allegations.
what he called Canadian citizen, actually a
BJP
dreaded
does a bit
international
of
terrorist
Parivarwan,
fugitive,
welcomes the
and he
JDS
offered
into the
condolences
NDA fold
to
ahead of the 2024 poll
Nijjar's
fight.
family.
JDS Chief
That
H.D.
same
Kumaraswamy
Prime
says
Minister last
seat-sharing
year
discussions
celebrated
with the
publicly
BJP will be
the
held
US
soon.
assassination of al-Zawahiri, saying it's a
More
step
trouble for
towards
Stalin
civil war.
Jr. Supreme Court
Same
issues
guy.
a notice to DMK
Just look at
Mantri
his stunning
Udaynithi Stalin
hypocrisy.
and others over his Sanatan
Al-Zawahiri
Dharma
was
remarks.
an old man, retired terrorist.
Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar says will comply with Kaveri water sharing with Tamil Nadu, vows to keep fighting for Karnataka farmers, urges them to withdraw their
But
money.
here is Nijjar. he is being treated
Another setback for TDP chief Chandrababu Naidu. Judicial remand extended. Andhra Pradesh High Court dismisses Naidu's plea to quash
when
arrest.
he is dead, Trudeau sheds tears in Parliament.
Arunachal Pradesh Wushu athletes denied entry into China for the
Navdeep,
Asian
from a
Games. Union
diplomatic
Minister Anurag
lens,
Thakur
how do you
cancels the planned
respond
China
to
visit
the
in protest.
overwhelming majority that seems to suggest that
ISRO
India
attempts
should
to
go out, in
re-establish
fact, and take
communication
down
with
terrorists?
Vikram
This is the
lander
kind
and
of thing
Pragyan rovers has
you
no
never
signals
admit to,
received
never
yet, but will
accept
continue all
publicly,
efforts.
legally. And yet at this moment,
Markets continue their fall for the
growing
fourth
desire
year.
to do what Israel
This week
or
has
the
been the
United
worst
States
since
do.
February, with the Sensex
So
plunging
I think,
nearly
you have
over
a disconnect
1,800
between
points.
the sentiment that the public has articulated in your poll
But our
and what
top
is very
story
visible
tonight.
in
The India
social media.
Parliament, Sansad
Which is
Bhavan, is often referred to as the
back chest
temple of our
thumping kind of
democracy.
thing. Yes, we did it
Now,
kind of sentiment.
it's been desecrated.
And you have the denial
That's
from
right,
the
desecrated
government.
by the
Maybe a
worst kind
better
of hate
approach
speech
would be
that
what the
any
Israelis do so
parliamentarian could
effectively,
have ever
which is
given in
standard,
all these
neither
years.
confirm nor deny.
BJP's South Delhi
That
MP
ambiguity
Ramesh
that the
Biduri
Israelis
on
use
Thursday
and others use
hurled
it too,
the choicest
is
Islamophobic
keeps
abuses
the
at fellow
deniability around.
parliamentarian Danish Ali
It
from the
also leaves the
BSP.
fear
While
in the
Defence
minds
Minister
of,
Rajnath Singh has expressed
those,
regrets,
who may
the
or may not
opposition
be
is
targeted,
saying that is simply not
the
enough.
long arm
The
of your law
BJP
can
has
reach out
show-caused
wherever you
Biduri,
are if you have been
but
guilty of
the
perpetrating a
opposition
terrorist
wants
act.
sterner action
But
against the
on Mr.
BJP
Chalani's
leader.
point,
A new law
let
in
me just say
Parliament.
that
It's
it
our
isn't
top
as
story
if
tonight.
nothing has been done. What we have been fairly successful
what
in, I
this
think, over the
honourable
last few
member of
years
parliament
is
said
using
was to be
our
aired on a
excellent
TV
relationship
channel,
with
it
the
would be
Saudis
fully
and the
beeped out.
Emiratis to secure
But in the Temple of
the
Democracy,
repatriation
the Indian
of
Parliament,
people that we
BJP
really
MP
wanted.
Ramesh Biduri had his
from
say
Saudi
without
Arabia,
anyone
for
from his
example,
party
who
raising
was
a murmur of
involved in
protest.
26/11.
The Delhi
Farooq
MP
Takla from
went on a rant,
Dubai, who
mouthing
was a
abusive
henchman of Dawood
anti-Muslim
Ibrahim.
slurs at
So,
BSP
at
MP
least at the
Danish Ali.
diplomatic level and the much closer
Behind Biduri
sharing of
sat
information and
experienced
collaboration
parliamentarians
between the
who,
intelligence
by the
agencies
looks
at
of
the
it,
highest
found
levels
the whole episode
has netted us
amusing.
a few gains. But
The
I want to just
opposition benches
come also again
protested
to that difference in numbers between the rest
Defence
of
Minister Rajnath
India
Singh
and
soon
Punjab.
expressed regrets
Because I
and
think
urged
what I
the chair
hear
to
around
expunge
town
parts of
is
Biduri's speech
people
from the
saying,
records.
are our kids in Canada, are our brothers in Canada again going to have to be afraid that they may be dubbed as Palestinians, even though they have nothing to do with it? Will they be dubbed as terrorists? Will that travel become harder?
Biduri's remark made during the discussion to celebrate the successful landing of Chandrayaan 3 on the moon have been expunged from Parliament records. The BJP has issued a show-cause notice to
Don't question
Biduri.
their patriotism. They fight on the
BSP
front
leader
line,
Danish Ali,
and
who was at the
the
receiving
evidence is
end,
there in all
has written to
the
Lok Sabha
tricolor
Speaker
rap
Om
bodies that come
Birla
back.
seeking suspension of
and it's
Biduri.
a real sensitive pain point for anyone. And I've seen some uninformed commentary going around once again.
Absolutely, I saw from Kangana Ranaut as well. Just anyone who does it saying that Sikhs need to prove that they're not Khalistani. Sikhs don't need to prove that
Sources
they're
in
not
the
Khalistani.
Speaker's
The government
office
needs to
say
act
that
against those
Biduri
who are,
has been
rather than
warned
trying to
against
brandish an
repeating
entire
such
proud
behavior.
community in the same
The
brush that is
opposition has
completely
rallied
abhorrent.
behind
Any community can have a loony fringe. Treat it as that. Keep it beyond the pale. And don't tarnish the mainstream.
No, absolutely.
This
that is a
is
very,
beyond
very important
shameful,
messaging.
and
Because
I
even
have
during the farm protest,
absolutely
we
no
saw
problem
some
in
people,
calling
including
out the
ministers in
honourable
the
speaker.
government,
He keeps
try
saying,
and
"Garima,
brandish or
Dharka,
question the
Lok
entire
Sabha ka
community,
garima
which
bajai
is
rakhe,
absolutely
Maryada.
unacceptable and
Where is
very
your Maryada, sir?
unfortunate.
Now, where is your
Question those who
Garima?
pick
You
up
are
arms
Maryada
against the
Purush, you are
state or
Garima
those who
Purush.
are
He's only given a
fueling
verbal warning to
incendiary
Biduri.
fires. You cannot
Ramesh
make this
Biduri
an
has
affront
refused
to the
to
pride
comment
of an
on
entire
the
community. That is completely unacceptable.
Former
Are
Union
Indian
Minister
diplomats in Canada
Harshvardhan,
safe?
who
Here the
came under
response is
fire on social
54%
media
say
for
yes, they are
smiling
safe.
away during the shameful
27% of
incident,
respondents say no,
has issued a
Indians in
statement
Canada are
calling
not
the
safe.
attacks on him
I'll show you the
political
results in
vendetta
Punjab.
to tarnish his
35%
image.
say yes, Indian diplomats in Canada
Ravi
are
Shankar
unsafe.
Prasad also tweeted that he
41%
does not
say no,
support
they are
such
not
comments.
unsafe. Overall, 54% saying
It
Indian
triggered
diplomats
an
in
outrage
Canada
with the
are
opposition
unsafe. Last
saying
question.
that
Are
Biduri
good
couldn't
relations
get
with
away
Canada
with a
now
warning,
impossible?
and the speaker should take
37% of
strict
the respondents
action
say it's
against
impossible.
him.
We
With
can't
video
possibly have
journalist
good relations
Lokendra,
with
this is
Canada.
Mosmi Singh in
39%
Delhi
of the
for
respondents say
India
no, it's
Today.
still possible to have good relations with Canada. And
terrorist
that is where
and worse.
I wrap up
Those are
this
just some
week's
of the
political
abusive
stock
languages,
exchange.
some which we cannot repeat
very,
on the
very
show,
timely
that were
this data
used by
set
a
from
member of
Yashwant
parliament.
Deshmukh and his team
My
at
newsmaker
Seawater,
tonight
because
is the
you've
man
got
who was subject
your
to them.
opinion,
Danish
and
Ali
now
joins me,
you've got
BSP
a lot
MP.
of
Danish,
data
my
with which you
first
can
thing,
judge
मैं
and
कहना
weigh that
चाहता हूं
opinion
जिस
in
प्रकार की
terms of whether it
भाषा
is in
आपके
consonance
खिलाफ
with the
इस्तेमाल
national
हुई
mood,
है
the mood
वो
in Punjab,
शर्मनाक है
or at variance.
वो
Yashwant
देश ने
Deshmukh for
देखी है
turning
और
this
मैं
around
कह
so
रहा हूं
quickly
कि हम
for us.
आपके साथ
A
हैं
big thank
इसमें
you to you
कि
and
जो
your team at
भाषा हुई
Seawater.
है
Thank you Nabdipsuri for
unacceptable.
joining us,
पर ये हमें
and
बताइए
also to Brahma
आप
Chalani
किस तरह से
and
इसे
to
आप देख
Manjinder
रहे हैं
Singh.
आपने एक
Slipping
चिट्ठी
into a
लिखी
quick
है, you
break
have
right
written a
now.
letter to the
We'll have
speaker.
Bikram
आप
Singh
किस तरह से
Majithia
इस पूरे
in the
मामले
same
को देख
direction.
रहे हैं, क्या करना
Question
चाहते हैं
number 2 on your screen now. What do you make of the charge that Justin Trudeau has leveled that India is responsible for the killing of Nijar? Here are the responses. 57% of the overall respondents say no, India is not responsible for killing Nijar. Even amongst those who said they voted for the opposition, 54% of the respondents say no, India did not kill Nijar. So the sentiment very strongly has people suggesting they don't think India is responsible for the killing of this Khalistani terrorist. Let's take a look at the responses in Punjab on the same question. Here, it's 37% saying no. Nationally, it was 57% saying no. So it's 20% less than that. 37% say no. 29% say yes. Nationally, it was 16, so 13% more people say India may have been responsible for the killing of the Khalistani terrorists. I want to show you question number 3. What if Indian agencies killed the Khalistani terrorists? What if India actually ordered an extrajudicial killing? Do you support that or not? They did the right thing, say 61. 6 out of 10 respondents in this Seawater India Today political stock exchange tracker say yes, if India did kill a Khalistani terrorist, the government did the right thing, say 61. They are wrong, say 14. Let's look at the mood in Punjab on the same question. Even in Punjab, 40% of the respondents say yes, they did the right thing. They are wrong, say 25. This is, of course, India has denied that they are responsible for the killing of the Khalistani terrorists. But even if that is somehow true, in Punjab also 40% say yes, that's the right thing. Nationally, that number was at 61. So with this, now let me introduce our guests who are joining me on this broadcast. I want to welcome first Yashwant Deshmukh, the lead cephalogist at Seawater. With us also on this broadcast for context and perspective is Brahma Chalani, one of India's best-known strategic affairs experts. We have Navdeep Singh Suri, distinguished fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, former ambassador. And we have Manjinder Singh Sirsa, National Secretary and spokesperson of the BJP. I want to go first and foremost to Yashwant Deshmukh. On your numbers, the mood very clearly seems to suggest that people think that Trudeau is doing what he is because he wants to benefit in the Canadian elections and because he's under pressure from pro-Khalistani elements inside Canada.
Parliamentarian, is it not my duty
Rahul,
to object to
one
it
very
and ask the
interesting
chair
thing
to
which is
expunge
coming
it?
from this particular round of PSE
What
poll,
wrong did I
from
did?
us. Earlier, every time we did a tracking poll on any such pressing issue, we could see a very, very partisan kind of answers based on the political orientation, ideologies. I guess that after a long time, we got to an issue where actually there is hardly any division as far as the opposition voters or NDA voters are concerned. So particularly this is, and also the fact that even though I was expecting some difference as far as response from rest of India and Punjab is concerned, but it is not as big a change that would have been contrasting of sorts. So arguably this is one ironically for Canada and Trudeau, it is both things, one issue which has kind of united more or less people across India.
बीजेपी भी जानती है कि कैसे होती है बीजेपी ने सरकार ने पिछले ही सेशन में
many in the West might have been thinking of Indians having different opinion or different idea on this particular
जो पिछले सेशन में जिस आधार पर लीडर
That's a very important point Yashwant Deshmukh makes, Because since the time I've been running the results of the political stock exchange on no issue has the opinion amongst opposition voters and government voters been so aligned as it is on the issue of India-Canada, Trudeau's charges and India's pushback. That shows the level of congruence there is across the political divide.
But do you expect
Brahma
him,
Chalani,
Danish,
57% of the respondents nationally say India did not kill the Khalistani terrorists, and even if it were true that Indian agencies did kill the Khalistani terrorists, 61% seem to support
everyone who
the
believes
move.
in democracy,
What do you make of the kind of responses we've picked up in the political stock
exchange? At least
exchange?
he should be suspended. And I have
well,
asked
first, when you have a dreaded international fugitive that is wanted in India for multiple acts of terror, including forming a cinema that killed or wounded 46 people.
अभी भी दूसरे सदन के 2 व्यक्ति सस्पेंडेड हैं.
So obviously,
तो ये
his
मतलब
death, by whatever means,
क्या होगा? पहले हेट स्पीच
can only be welcomed by people in India.
इसलिए तो नए संसद भवन का परिसर नहीं बनाया
है. Opposing the fact that he died, whether he died of natural cause or he died of unnatural cause, that's a different issue. But the fact that a dreaded terrorist is gone
you just
is something that Indians can only
Prime
welcome.
Minister. Do you want Prime Minister Narendra
Do you want to
Modi
just quickly
to speak
recap
up and
for those
intervene?
watching
He is after all the leader of the Lok
charges
Sabha.
against KS Nijjar, because a lot of people in
I
Canada
think
and
until
elsewhere
unless
trying to
Honorable
project
Prime Minister
him
takes
as
the cognizance of these
preacher
type of
in
things,
charge
because
of a Gurdwara,
everything was
man of
happening
religion,
outside Parliament.
not a man of
earlier.
violence.
Such type of hate speeches were happening outside
The thing
Parliament.
is that,
Now
like,
this has entered the
some
new
of the
building of the
prominent
Parliament. On the floor of
fugitives
the
from
House,
India
a
that
BJP
are
senior
based
BJP member, he's
in
not a
Canada's
new one. He's
British
making
Columbia
hate speeches on the
province.
floor of the House.
These guys entered
If
Canada
now
illegally,
the Honorable
including
Prime Minister is
Mr.
not going to
Nijjar.
open his mouth,
They
then when?
entered Canada illegally with the help of criminal bands,
और किस चीज का
and given the
क्या
growing
नहीं
Sikh
कहा?
militancy in
किस
British
तरीके से
Columbia, in
threaten
particular
नहीं
in
किया
Canada,
कि बाहर निकल
there is
के
a growing
दिखेंगे,
nexus
तो मैं किसके
between
पास
criminal
जाऊं?
bands and
मैं
radical
अपने संरक्षक के पास
Khalistanis,
गया,
which has
उनके
led
दफ्तर में गया
to
इंतजार मैंने
frequent
ऑनरेबल स्पीकर
gangland
उनको
killings.
मैं मिल नहीं पाया, वो आए नहीं थे.
Nijjar was very
मैं
much
चिट्ठी
part
देके उनके
of
ऑफिस
this
में आ गया.
nexus.
मुझे उम्मीद है कि कार्रवाई होगी.
In fact,
मुझे उम्मीद है कि मुझे
after he
प्रोटेक्शन मिलेगा.
illegally entered
हाउस
Canada,
के अंदर भी
twice he
प्रोटेक्शन
applied
मिलेगा
for
और
refugee
बाहर भी
status, and each
प्रोटेक्शन
time
मिलेगा, क्योंकि
his application was
थ्रेटन जो है
rejected by
वो दोनों तरीके
authorities.
से.
That's the background of
Rajnath
this
Singh,
guy,
Union
who was wanted
Defence
in India
Minister,
for
said he
multiple acts of terror.
apologizes
But he was
for
not,
these
he
remarks
was not on
if they are
India's list
true.
of most wanted terrorists.
And he
So
should
I,
be seeing the
you know,
video.
need to make
Mr.
that clear,
Rajnath Singh
because
should see the video.
there are
Has
a number of
anyone else
terrorists
though
that are
spoken to you
hiding
from the
abroad.
BJP? Has
There
the
are
Speaker's
household
office
names in India.
spoken
For
to you?
example, everybody
And
knows about
importantly,
Hafiz
what about
Saeed,
those who are now
Masood
play those
Azhar,
pictures
etc.
who are
Dawood
found
Abraham
laughing?
is another
Dr. Harshvardhan
example.
and Ravi Shankar
But, you know,
Prasad ji,
until
both
this
senior
guy
ministers, former
died,
senior ministers, are
not many
sitting
people
next to
knew about
Mr.
him in
Biduri.
India.
And they are
Because he
laughing
was not among the most
at the
wanted
camera
terrorists in India.
while these remarks are being made. So
now, Manjinder
has
Singh
anybody
Sirsa,
apologized to you?
What is interesting in the data is
Sir,
the
Rajdeep,
fact
this
that
is very-
whether the voter
this is very
an NDA
unfortunate
voter
that
or
the
he's voting
former
for the
cabinet
opposition, there is
colleagues
a
of
high
Prime Minister
level
Modi,
of alignment
senior
on questions to do with
were
India,
laughing
Canada,
and
Khalistan,
having a thumping
Trudeau's
on his
action,
hate
the
speech
charges.
in
It seems
Parliament.
the mood in the country
तो
is
क्या?
very similar,
इससे ज़्यादा
regardless of
शर्म
which
की बात
side
हो
one
नहीं
sits on the
सकती
political
हम लोगों के
divide.
लिए.
No,
This is
definitely
now
the mood has to be
up
similar.
to the BJP to
Reason being,
introspect. This is now
everybody
up
is
to
a
the Honorable Prime
patriot
Minister
here,
to introspect.
and when it comes to
But
a
has
country,
anyone from the
I
speakers
don't feel any
has
single
anyone from the
person
speaker's
will
office
stay,
contacted
say
you?
that I
Has
don't
the
stand with my
BJP
country.
apologized to
Where
you?
the
You have
question is
friends
that
within the
Trudeau is raising
BJP.
this issue in
Personally,
the
किसी ने
parliament.
आपको phone
Being
किया
a
है
prime minister,
and
he is
said,
supposed to
"We
give
are sorry,
evidence, whether
Danish
by
bhai, for what
saying,
was said."
yeah, I doubt, or
No,
मुझे शक है,
Nobody?
or something word like
yesterday on the
this.
floor of the
Cannot be a
Nobody?
word for
Nobody
an
has spoken?
international when you are
नहीं
using this
मेरे
for
को
a
किसी ने फोन नहीं किया
counterpart with other country
ना मेरे
vice
को
versa.
किसी ने कोई बात
So, by
You
saying
said
this, that I doubt
Danish
that
Ali,
India
last
could be
night you
involved
could
or
not
India
sleep.
could be involved
Today,
in
as a
this
parliamentarian,
act of violence
do you
or
realize what an
this
average
killing.
person
By
feels when
simply
he
saying
is
that yesterday
when
also he
such
gave a statement. He
words
said
are
India
used
should
against him simply because
join
he
us,
may be
India
an
should
Indian Muslim?
help us out.
A parliamentarian is being
whether he
targeted.
has asked
What
any
would
kind
be
of help,
happening to a
whether
normal
India has
Indian
denied any
Muslim
kind of
citizen
help,
on
he
the
never said
streets?
this. So
The language that is
everybody in this
used.
nation knew
Do you
now
believe, therefore,
that
this
what
is
Trudeau
pure
did
hate
for it's
speech
a
which must
political
end?
stunt.
And do you
He
intend
did why
to
he
take
did so
this
because he had a
matter beyond
backlash
just
when he went
writing to the speaker, will you take legal
Canada
action
from India,
and set a
because
precedent?
nobody in G20, the other countries
Rajdeep,
made
because whole country has seen this.
that was the media was ruining his life like
helpless.
there, but that was the reason he came out of the parliament, suddenly raised this question.
What can I?
So even if he was aware of this fact, while before coming to India, he could have said that, or this he could have waited to conclude the investigation. And thirdly, day before yesterday, another criminal was killed there, another mafia don or whatever you say was killed there. Who is responsible for his killing? Who is responsible for his killing?
Absolutely. Navdeep Suri, you've been a diplomat. You also understand politics. I won't show our viewers the current popularity numbers of Justin Trudeau relative to his opponents in Canadian politics. There's an election coming up in a year or so from now. Who is the preferred prime ministerial candidate? Trudeau's popularity stands at only 31%. 40% would like his principal opponent, Pierre Poilievre, to be the next prime minister. 22% want Jagmeet Singh of the NDP. Remember, Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh are in an alliance.
The democracy of this country has been won.
Pierre Poilievre is at 40%. He's number one.
It's not the question of only the people whom I am representing in
doing this to salvage
the question of the people of India,
popularity ratings. To what extent do you believe that could be true? Because even in the sea voter data, most people think he's doing it to benefit in local elections, and he's under pressure from the Khalistani lobby.
But I think that seems self-evident, and he's been doing this for several years.
If you had any words in conclusion to say
attachment to the Khalistani lobby seems to be directly proportional to his falling numbers. But otherwise, we've seen it in Bhangra gigs, we've seen it in his various appearances, trying to curry favor with a section of the Sikh community in Canada. But Rahul, I want to make 2 points, if I may. One is because perhaps I'm sitting in Amritsar and you've drawn a poll in Punjab. So let me take a shot at the very interesting numbers that you threw up. Even while there's a great deal of agreement, and your numbers showed that, on the India-Canada issue, India is doing the right thing, and there was no difference between your numbers in India as a whole and in Punjab. But there is a real disquiet in Punjab because it disproportionately sends people to Canada, right? Of the millions strong, whatever Indian community is, 60% is from Canada.
Of Indians,
and today, when you read the headlines and you look at all the newspapers and listen to some of the commentary on YouTube,
they're equally ashamed and angry, or should be.
Two kinds of
worry.
I
want to tell you my thoughts.
One is people whose families are in
this
Canada
language is unacceptable.
and who were waiting for their parents and others. There's a holiday season coming up, there's a festive season coming up, there's a wedding season coming up. And there are people who are keen to come to India, as they do every year at this time of the year.
And the BJP take
what
the
happens to
strongest
their
action in this
visas,
matter.
because
So
we know
thank
it's
you,
a
Danish
reality
for giving
that
us
many people,
your
despite
perspective.
repeated urgings by our
remember,
embassies, our
this parliament
consulates, and by
session
the
was a
Ministry of
special
External
session
Affairs,
in a new
have not
parliament
availed of the OCI
It began with the Prime Minister
are they
as the leader
stranded?
of the
Are
Lok
we going to
Sabha,
find ways
hoping
to
that a
deal
new
with it?
culture
People who have
would be brought
legitimate
into
reasons to
Parliament.
come
One
to
that
India
we
over the
hope
next
would be free
3-4
of
months,
abuse,
however long it
would
is.
be free of hate
Secondly,
speech. Sadly, that's not happened.
And
Just
I'm sure
listen
in other
to what the
cities
Prime
in
Minister
Punjab,
said.
there's
And then
a
ask yourselves,
real disquiet about
will the
people
Prime
who
Minister and
have
the government
deposited
walk the
fees,
talk?
15,
Listen.
20 lakhs for their kids to be admitted to Canadian universities, and who are now thinking, what's going to happen to their visas? Because even though the Canadians haven't announced it reciprocally and perhaps won't, because they need those students to fund their universities, but from the perspective of the persons whose kids are in the pipeline today, the downsizing of Canadian missions in Delhi means longer visa queues automatically. So I just wanted to say that there's
those are important points. I want Manjinder Sirsa from the BJP to respond. You are raising the concern about the community having a sense of being disquiet and concerned. There are families in Canada, virtually everyone in Punjab has somebody in Canada and vice versa, amongst the Punjabi community. Many of them want to come back. The holiday season is here. There are students who are in the pipeline to go. You want to reduce the size of the High Commission. That means that visa delays increase. It's already several months late, it could be delayed even further. Manjinder Sirsa, how does your government and your party respond to these concerns from Mr. Suri?
So what should the speaker now of
so
the Lok Sabha
definitely
do?
these are
Well,
the biggest
what
concerns
should
when it
Om
comes to
Birla
Punjab and
do?
the people
That's
living in Canada,
question
because
I
as
want
Mr.
to
Suri
raise.
very well said,
Joining
that
me
most
now
of the
are
people are from
Satyapal Jain,
Punjab.
Additional Solicitor
We are
General,
also
once a
concerned about
BJP
that. We are
MP,
also looking at
and
that.
Sanjay
The situation
Hegde,
is getting
Senior Advocate,
turning to the
Supreme
worst
Court.
point
And I want to ask you
after
both, starting
the
with you,
situation
Satyapal
created
Jain,
by
is
the
Ramesh
Prime
Biduri
Minister of
protected
Canada
in your view
when
by
he threw out
parliamentary
our
privilege,
diplomat.
and
But I was
therefore what
speaking
is
earlier
prima
in the
facie
day
hate
to
speech he can
Vikram
get
Majidi,
away
and he said, why
simply
should
because
an
he's a
entire community, an
parliamentarian?
entire state be punished for the actions of a few?
Definitely.
Target the Khalistanis, go after them
See,
rather than put the
Article
entire community
105
and an entire state
and
in a
Article
state of limbo.
194 of the Constitution of
No,
India.
nobody is putting an entire
gives
state or
this
entire community.
immunity to the
Definitely, that's a
members
big challenge. As I
of
very well said,
Parliament
it's a
as
big
well as state
challenge for us
Vidhan Sabhas
also. Because half of the
speaking
families in Canada
anything
and
they
half
like
of the
in the
families in
Parliament of
Punjab.
Vidhan Sabha.
And we are facing,
This,
but the
of course,
problem
now
here
has been
is
referred to
the question should
the
be asked
judgment on
from
this point
Trudeau,
has been referred to a
not
larger
from
bench.
the Indian
But I
Prime
must start
Minister,
with one thing.
because he was
the
the
type
one who
of
threw out
language
our
that has been
diplomat.
used,
He
maybe
went
in
to the
Parliament, maybe it is in
said
Vidhan
something.
Sabha, maybe it is in a municipal
Sir,
corporation,
the
or even
difference is
outside
that
also,
said
is
you have to leave
totally
the country within
unacceptable,
asking a diplomat to
totally
leave is between
intolerable,
governments.
and not
Asking
called
a
for
diplomat
in
to
any
leave is
civilized
between
society.
governments.
So are you
Putting
telling me,
all
are you telling me,
visas in
Satyapal
suspension,
Jain,
then
are you telling
impact
me,
the
sir,
larger
that-
community,
are
and
you
there are
telling
many
me
more
that if
Indians
I
wanting
resort
to go to
hate
Canada
speech,
than there are
brazen
Canadians
hate
wanting to
speech
come to
in
India.
Parliament, as an
So
MP
there are two
against a
different set
fellow
of people.
MP,
One are
I
they
can
can
claim
no Indian
parliamentary
requires
privilege,
a visa. They
even if
already
the
have a
remarks
visa
are
and OCI
expunged.
card. But yes, the people
That's
who have
about all that
taken
can be done,
the
is what you're
passport,
telling me.
Canadian
That's the
passport there,
limited.
there will be no
Two
problem,
things are-
and the government will take care of them also.
Let's-
it is not
let's-
for the Indian
let's keep
people who
two
are
things
want to
apart.
come back.
One is the
I'm sure that
prerogative of the
government
privilege
will
committee,
not see
Speaker of
any
the
single
Parliament to
person
take action.
get
That is
affected by
entirely
this
different.
order. I'm sure
But
about
so
that.
far as the criminal
Navdeep Suri
liability is
raised the
concerned,
concern about
that
students
according
who are
to
in
the
the
5 judges
pipeline.
bench of the
If
Supreme
the
Court,
High
para
Commission
124,
gets
the Supreme Court judgment, which has
the
now been
staff
referred to a
strength is
larger
reduced,
bench in PV
then there are
Narasimha Rao's
concerns that there will be
case,
massive
says
visa
the
delays.
MPs enjoy
No, but
immunity
visa delays
under Article
from Canadian
105
side
of the
or from
Constitution
Indian
of
side. It
India.
cannot be
But
from Indian side
so far
because
as
the
the
Canada
Parliament
Canadian
itself
visa
is
is
concerned,
issued by a
the
Canadian
Speaker,
government
the
here
Privilege
in
Committee,
Delhi.
they
That's
have
what I'm
every
saying. If
right
they reduce the
to
size
take,
of the High Commission,
analyze
it will
and take
increase
any
the
decision
pressure
that they deem
on
fit.
the officers
That
who are
is
there. It will
totally a
increase
different
the
matter.
time
But
it will
if you
take for
fix
people
the
to get
criminal
visas.
liability,
So you have made a distinction
If you
between
want to-
criminal
Rahul, but that
liability
is
and the
not
role
our
of the
concern.
Speaker.
That has to be taken
I
care
get
by
your
the
point. Sanjay Hegde,
Canadian
do you
government.
believe that the
पर आप ही ने
Speaker...
बोला ना उनको कि अपने बंदे काम करो तो हमारा इम्पैक्ट तो पूरी साहब वही तो बोल रहे हैं इम्पैक्ट तो हमारे बंदों पे है.
Okay. Sanjay Hegde, do you believe that
No,
the
impact
Speaker
हमारे
in
बंदों पे
particular
है,
must see this as
definitely.
not a... This is
पर
a
जो
Speaker who
visa,
has
I'm just
suspended
talking
more
about the visa
people in
and
the
the
last few
students.
sessions
In
than any other
who
Speaker
want to
before
travel
him.
from Punjab to
So
Canada.
do you believe this
So
is
it
the
is
fit
not our
case for
government
a
has to
full
decide, it's the
suspension,
it's
possibly
sorry,
for a
Canadian
session?
government who has
And
to
do you
decide
really
this.
believe that's a
So
deterrent?
I don't believe that Surisa must be right on one
Well,
part.
I don't
But if
think
we
it
are
would
not
be a
issuing a visa
deterrent.
to the people living in
If
Canada,
somebody
that's a
is
big question there.
hell-bent on
But
saying
when it comes to people
whatever
living in
pops into his head,
India want to go to Canada, that is a...
he must be willing to take the consequences.
Okay, let me get Navdeep
Today,
Suri to
what
respond
has
very
happened
briefly because I have a
is
lot
not
of questions I want to go
only,
through, but let him respond to what he's heard from the
something
BJP
against
spokesperson.
one individual member.
I
It
think
is a contempt of the
what I was
House
trying to say is
itself.
when we
The House's
announced a decision
dignity
for the
has been
Canadians to
undermined.
downsize their diplomatic
The dignity
representation in
of the
India to the
House
same level as
rests
ours
in the hands of the
Canada,
Speaker
it has an
and
unintended
the
consequence.
committees of Parliament.
And that unintended
If they do not
consequence
protect
is that
their own
there are
dignity,
fewer consular
nobody
staff
else
to
can.
process visas.
I agree with
That's
Mr.
the limited
Satyapal
point
Jain
I'm
that there
making,
is
that
parliamentary
it is
privilege
the classic case
and
of the
that
law of
anything
unintended
said in
consequences
Parliament,
where the
a member of
humanitarian
Parliament
impact
cannot be called to
will be
account
felt
in any
Punjab,
court
and
of
already
law.
people are talking about it.
That
I'm
has
saying
been the
this because I
position in
happen to be
England,
here.
and
No,
we
sure.
have under
I want to run now
105
and
of
show
the
our
Constitution
viewers
of India
responses
continued
to the
it
other questions.
as far as our
and this is an
parliament
interesting question
Right.
from Yashwant Deshmukh's team, because
parliamentary privilege
a
cannot
country like
be
Israel, a
used
country
in this
like the
fashion.
United States,
It is not
especially
Mr.
post
Danish
9/11,
Ali
has been
alone
going
who has
out
been
and doing
insulted.
targeted killings
It
of
is
those who act
India's
against
parliament
American
itself.
interest. When a Zawahiri
But,
is killed, when Osama bin
Satyapal
Laden
Jain,
is
you
killed,
said you were
everyone
part of
watching
the
typically
Parliamentary
tends to
Privileges
applaud.
Committee
Well
when you
done,
were an
Obama.
MP.
Well done, Bush.
What do you believe?
Should
Is
India
this
do
a
the
fit
same?
case for
Here
a
are the
suspension for a
responses
session?
to that question.
Can
This is going to
something more
generate
be
a
done
lot
that
of
can send
chatter.
out a stronger
This
message
question
in some way
from
that this
the
is
political stock
unacceptable
exchange:
language?
should terrorists be hunted and eliminated? 83%.
Sir, I'd
8
like
out
to
of
make
10
two
respondents
submissions.
in this
my
poll
view,
say
I have
yes,
gone through the
terrorists
provisions
should
of
be
the
hunted and
discussions
killed.
of the Constituent Assembly.
Let's look at the responses
privileges
from
under
within Punjab.
105
In Punjab
and 194
as well,
were given to the MPs and
64% of
MLAs.
the respondents
Keeping
say
in mind
terrorists should
that
be
they may be
hunted
free
and
to
killed.
say whatever they want to
17%
say without
say
any
no.
fear and favor.
That is massive.
And that is why,
just
if I
suggests.
remember it correctly,
Remember, these
in
are
the old
always
Parliament, I was a member
controversial
when the old Parliament was
because
there.
it's extrajudicial, you're going into somebody else's country, killing
which
a
means
terrorist over
either
there.
you do not enter
if you
this
get
house,
a big catch,
and if you enter
your
this
voters
house,
like it.
you
It's
speak
always
only
diplomatically
the truth
tough
and
to
nothing
handle,
else but
the
truth.
mood in India
This was
very
the intention
clear
when this
and
privilege
very
was given
direct.
to them.
What's your reaction to the killing? What's
But
your reaction to the expulsion of an Indian diplomat by Canada?
Across the party line.
18% say it doesn't matter. No reaction. 39% say India should expel one Canadian diplomat, which already has expelled all Canadian diplomats. 26%. That's a bit over the top. That's just the populist mood. I won't take that very seriously. Is Trudeau supporting Khalistani terrorism? Let's come to this question. Is the government of Justin Trudeau and the Prime Minister himself supporting Khalistani terrorists?
So I am saying whether it is of
60%
A
say
party,
yes,
B party or C party.
18% say no.
This needs to be reconsidered.
In Punjab, responses to that same question are different quite naturally. Here, 39% are saying yes,
to the MPs or
33% are saying no. Nationally, the number was 60 saying yes, and 18% saying no. Yashwant Deshmukh, this one number that you put out in this poll will generate a lot of chatter. 83% of the overall respondents say India should hunt down terrorists.
Do you also believe time has come to
Rahul,
review
and again, the
parliamentary
highlight
privileges?
is
We
not
cannot.
that
What
how many
privilege does someone
want
like
to
a Ramesh
say
Bayuri,
that
for God's
terrorists
sake,
should be
deserve?
hunt down. The highlight for me is the
has
sink
given
of
the
the
worst
opposition
example
voter and
of
the
the kind
NDA
of hate
supporters.
speech
What
that
it
some
tells
of our
us is that on
parliamentarians have
certain issues,
normalized.
there are three
Should
different
someone
layers
like
of
him
question
be
that we try to ask.
getting parliamentary
Number, we try to
privileges?
check
Should Supreme
if
Court
people
relook at
believe
it?
that Indian agencies did it. That was roughly
Mr.
in the
Biduri
60s.
may be an aberration,
That they
but
believe
yet
that
he
Indian
is a
agencies
public
did not do it.
representative.
Then we ask, what if
We
they did it?
voters have voted him
Would that be a right thing to do?
into Parliament.
The number goes up to 70%.
And we have voted him with all
it's
the
the right thing to
privileges
do.
that parliamentary
And then we ask a
membership
sweeping question: should they
confers.
be, eliminated
It is
altogether?
given for a
and
very
no matter
particular
where they
reason,
are, kind
that
of
people should be
sentiment,
free
it
to
goes further
speak
to
their minds
80%.
in Parliament.
And regardless
It
of
is
the
not
political
given for
divide,
the reason
regardless of the
that people
ideology, the
should
numbers
say
are more or
anything
less
that
in
comes
sync from
into
the
their
same line.
minds.
What is
It
important
is not given for the reason that people should indulge in hate speech or communal
is the
speech.
fact that
But
probably very
if you
fine line,
allow
Rahul, that Western
the thin edge
press,
of the
Western
courts coming
media,
in
and including Western
into
diplomats
Parliament,
should be
then
understanding
there could
that
possibly be a
many
clash
of
of
them think
institutions
that it's
that is
because
not
of the
healthy
current
for a
government in
democracy
charge
either.
that
Parliament needs to
these kind of
respect
aggressions
itself.
are coming in, these kind of motions are coming in. But what they are not realizing that in a democracy like India, even if tomorrow Congress comes to power, even if tomorrow Mr. Rahul Gandhi becomes the Prime Minister, he just cannot
Rajdeep,
do
just
away
one line.
with the public
Just one
emotion
line.
on such an issue.
It was the Hindi
Probably
poet
no matter
Dinkar
who
who
comes
said,
to power, he is going
"Samar
to do the
शेष है,
same
नहीं
line,
पाप का
he is
बागी
going to
केवल
take the
व्याध।
same action.
जो
This
तटस्थ
is a
रहे,
different kind of
समय
India they
लिखेगा
are
उनका
dealing
भी
with.
अपराध।
Is the public
Those
emotion
who
is
sat
very
like
clear,
Bhishma and
regardless
Dronacharya
across the political
silent
support
when
line,
Draupadi
and
was
that emotion
disrobed.
is going to support
History
no matter who
writes
becomes the
about
Prime
them
Minister,
also.
no matter who wins
This
the
is not a
election.
time to be
This
thrashed.
kind of public emotion is
This
going
is
to
a time
force the
for you to
government
say
that
enough
they are
is
going to
enough.
choose whichever
Okay.
way
This
they
man
choose
must
to
be
go
punished.
about the way they want to
Those are
go.
strong words.
So,
and I think
Brahmacharya,
words
if I
that
were
will
to
echo
enter the
hopefully
realm of
right
speculation
across.
just for a
Silence is not
moment,
an option.
when
Laughing
Prime Minister Modi
is
was in
certainly
opposition
not
campaigning to be
an
Prime
option.
Minister, as Chief Minister
It's
of Gujarat,
time for
he
Parliament
said,
to wake up. We don't need new
publicly
Parliament
that
buildings.
why
We need a
is
new
Dawood
Parliament
Ibrahim
culture, my friends,
not being
in
taken
this
down? What
country,
is
and
this idea
possibly
of just giving
new parliamentarians.
dossiers
Appreciate
to
Satyapal
Pakistan?
Jain,
Why can't we do
Sanjay
more?
Hegde
We
joining me
know
on that.
that
From there, let's turn to the
likes
other
of
top
Ajit
story
Doval, the
tonight.
National
The
Security
diplomatic
Advisor,
standoff
again, he
that's
hasn't
erupted
spoken when
between
he's been in
India
government,
and Canada
obviously, but while in
as Canadian
opposition,
Prime Minister Justin
advocated
Trudeau alleged a
taking
potential
down
link between the
terrorists
Indian
and
government
being
and the
far more
killing of a
proactive than our government had
pro-Khalistani
been in
leader
the
in
past.
Canada
Manohar
earlier this
Parrikar,
year.
when I interviewed
India
him,
has been
spoke of
rejecting
using
the
a thorn
allegations
to
as
take out
absurd and
another thorn.
motivated.
So
But
one
today
of the
the
reasons
Americans stepped
why
in and said India
this is
will
being
not get
said
any
or looked
special
at it because this
exemption.
government has been
Take a look.
far more aggressive in its posture against
The
terrorists
Canadian Prime
than the
Minister
government
has
of
just
Dr. Manmohan
acknowledged
Singh.
India's global clout.
You have to
There is
distinguish
no question
rhetoric from
that
action.
India is a country of growing
Has
importance.
under Modi, India done any hit job?
In his comments at the
Are the
sidelines of the
terrorists
New
based
York
in
General
Pakistan
Assembly,
still
Trudeau
thumping their
also
noses at
underscored
India?
the importance of his
There are more
country's
than
broader engagement
100
with
UN
India on the
designated
world
terrorists
stage.
based in
There is no
Pakistan.
question that India
Several of them are
is
wanted
a
in
country
India
of
for
growing
hundreds of
importance. and a country that we need to continue to work with, not just in the region, but around the world. And we're not looking to provoke or cause problems.
I mentioned earlier that
At the same time, the Canadian Prime Minister reiterated his allegation regarding the death of slain Khalistani leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar, allegations New Delhi has already strongly refuted.
You think India would have gone after
Asked to
Hardeep Singh
characterize the
Nijjar?
evidence he claims to
And
be
what is the
having,
basis of
Trudeau dodged
Trudeau's
a
allegation?
direct question.
The police have not arrested a single suspect. They have not
Prime
even
Minister,
found
India
the
has
car in
rejected
which
your
these
allegations.
killers escaped after killing Nijjar. There is
According to
no
official
police
sources,
statement of
India
any
has
kind.
sent multiple
It's relying
deportation
on input
requests
from
for
intelligence.
wanted terrorists and gangsters
Intelligence
to
is
Canada.
not
But
evidence.
Canada has ignored all of them.
But if you want to rely on
A
intelligence,
deportation request
you
for
can do
gangster
what
Goldie Brar, who took
other governments have
responsibility
done
for
in
the
the
killing of
past.
Punjabi
They have
rapper Sidhu
provided
Moosewala
photographic
and who is
evidence,
believed to be in Canada,
audio
has also
evidence,
gone unheard.
forensic evidence.
They claim to have evidence. You buy that? Pramod
In its
Chelani, they
dossier
claim
to
that there is
Canada,
evidence
India has
which
also
has been
raised
shared with the
serious
Five
concerns
Eyes
about
country.
at
Do you
least
buy that,
9
or do you think that's just
Canada-based
posturing?
separatist organizations
Nothing has
supporting
been
outlawed
released. They're
groups
talking about
like the Khalistan
surveilling
Tiger Force,
Indian
the
diplomats.
Sikhs for
Release the
Justice,
audio.
and the Babbar
For
Khalsa
example, how did
International.
the Khashoggi case
The issue of deportations
unfold?
of wanted terrorists and gangsters
The Turkish
raised by
government
Indian
released
authorities in multiple diplomatic
video
and security
footage of
talks.
Khashoggi going inside the
8
Saudi
individuals
consulate in
involved in
Istanbul
terror
and not
activities
coming
and
out.
as many
They
gangsters
had
who
audio
have been
evidence
conspiring with
of
Pakistan's
screens
ISI
inside
have found
the
a safe
Saudi
haven
consulate
in
in
Canada.
Istanbul. They provided clear evidence of Saudi Arabia's hand in the murder and disappearance of Khashoggi.
Reputational damage. If there's
I
one
can
any
name
country
several other cases,
that
famous
needs to look at
international
this, I think
cases,
it is Canada,
where
and its growing
printing evidence has been
reputation
provided.
as a
Here,
place,
not
as a
even
safe
an
haven
audio
for
has been
terrorists,
released.
for extremists, and for
See,
organized
when
crime.
you
I
rely
think
on
that's a country that needs to
intel,
worry about its
you're basically
international
getting
reputation.
into a spy game. Because
An unprecedented
what
diplomatic row
intelligence
between the two
agencies do
countries,
is they
otherwise
collect
sharing a
evidence,
robust
not
trade,
collect information, not
diplomatic and
evidence,
strategic
and the
partnership.
information is processed
Bureau Report,
and
India
tailored
Today.
to advance the geopolitical interests of the country. Now, for example,
So what are
in the case
India's
in the
realistic
present
options
case,
now? Has this
what
war
they're
of words
calling
embarrassed both India
credible
and
allegations.
Canada?
Look at it. It's
Will
not
Canada
even-
come
they're not even
clean
calling it
on the
evidence. You know, the
Khalistan
Trudeau's own
connection?
words.
Joining me now
Credible
is Dave Haya.
allegations,
He's
as
former
if
Indo-Canadian
allegations can be
politician
credible.
based in
Allegations
Surrey,
are
Canada.
allegations. There's
And he
credible
suffered a
evidence,
personal
but not
tragedy
credible-
because
credible,
members of his father was
allegations, you know,
killed,
and there is no
assassinated
evidence of any
by
kind.
alleged
So,
Khalistanis.
but I think
Samir
it's important
Kaushal is
to keep in
Indo-Canadian
mind
journalist
one
based in
thing that-
Vancouver, and Vivek Kajju
that, you
is
know,
former
about
secretary
hit jobs,
at the Ministry of
that
External Affairs.
when
I
he
want
stood
to
up in
come to you,
Parliament,
Dave,
Trudeau,
first. Can you tell us
and
your story
mourned
and
the death
how
of
you
this-
see what has happened
what
in
he
the last
called
few days?
Canadian citizen, actually a dreaded international terrorist
You're
fugitive,
on mute, Dave. You're on
and
mute.
he offered condolences to
It is sad
Nijjar's
what
family.
has happened between
That
Canada and
same
India in the last few
Prime
days,
Minister last
especially
year
since Monday.
celebrated
And,
publicly the US
I think
assassination
first of all, I want to say, look,
of
my
al-Zawahiri,
condolences go
saying
to
it's a step
Hardeep
towards
Nijjar's
a
family.
civil
I don't
war.
know if he has
Same
done things
guy.
in India or not, but
Just look at
in
his
Canada he
stunning
didn't do.
hypocrisy.
But what the Prime Minister did
Al-Zawahiri
by
was
making
an
an
old man,
announcement
retired
in Parliament
terrorist
building
of no
in
threat to
chambers
anybody.
without
He
bringing
was
any
taken out by
proof,
the Americans because
what he
Biden
should
wanted
have
to
done
show
was
that he's a
probably
tough
brought
leader
some of the
after the debacle in Afghanistan, in surrendering Afghanistan
senior
to the
police
Taliban.
officials
But here is
explained to
Nijjar.
what information they had,
He is being
made a
shielded by the
statement that time
Trudeau
rather than
government. He's a
just
threat
going
to
accusing
India.
India.
He's
I
a
don't know
threat
what
to
the
Canadian
evidence is there or
security.
not. If India
And
was
yet,
involved,
when
it
he's-
is wrong.
when he is
But we
dead,
haven't seen
Trudeau
any
sheds tears in
information. But on the
Parliament.
other hand,
The guy's
at the Guru Nanak
hypocrisy
Sikh
is
temple
appalling.
in Surrey,
Navdeep,
where
sorry, from a
Nijjar was
diplomatic
shot,
lens,
they have a
how do
picture
you
of
respond
Talbinder
to
Singh
the
Parmar, and
overwhelming
on Monday they also
majority
had a
that
picture
seems
of
to suggest that
Talbinder Singh
India
Parmar
should go out, in fact, and take
Nijjar
down terrorists?
together.
And this is the kind of thing
And Talbinder Singh
you never
Parmar was the
admit to,
mastermind,
never
which was
accept
accepted by
publicly,
everybody
legally,
for India and India
and yet at
bombing
this
that killed
moment,
331 people,
growing desire to do what Israel or the United States do.
280 were Canadian citizens, over
So I
86
think,
were killed.
you have a
and it is wrong
disconnect
to show
between
pictures of terrorists as a
the
hero in
sentiment
any
that
place,
the public
especially in
has
the public.
articulated
But
in your
sadly
poll
enough,
and what
Canadian
is very
laws are not
visible
strong
in
enough
social
to
media,
the police to stop
which
those
is a
type of
backslapping,
pictures being
chest
shown as the
thumping
heroes
kind of
in the
thing.
public,
Yes, we did it.
and
Kind
probably
of
trying to convert
sentiment.
some of the people
And you have the
to
denial
saying it's
from
okay
the
to support some
government.
of these terrorists. I
Maybe
mean,
a
and
better
that is the sad part.
approach would be what the Israelis do so effectively, which is standard. Neither confirm nor
wrong.
deny.
And what
That
I also
ambiguity
heard on
that the
some of the
Israelis
media
use, and
is
others
some of
use
the
it
people
too,
threatening the Hindu community, saying they should
keeps
leave
the
Canada,
deniability
which is wrong. I
around.
mean, Canada is made of people
It
from all
also
different
leaves the
religions,
fear in
all
the
different
minds
cultures,
of
all different backgrounds from all over the world.
who
If
may or
everybody
may not be
brought
targeted,
their problems to here,
that the
this
long
would be
arm of
probably
your
one of the
law
worst
can reach
countries ever
out
and one of the best
wherever you
countries.
are if you
Right
have been
now,
guilty of
with all its
perpetrating a
challenges, it's
terrorist
still
act.
considered one of the best
But
countries.
on
But still,
Mr.
we have our
Chalani's
share
point,
of
let
problems,
me just say that it isn't as if
is the
nothing has
issue.
been done.
But in Canada,
What we have been
under
fairly
the Charter right,
successful in,
you
I
can
think, over
ask
the
for
last few
Palestine. There's
years
nothing
is
to stop it.
using
On the
our
other hand, you
excellent
cannot use
relationship
hate
with the
and violence.
Saudis and the Emiratis
Because
to
as
secure
you said,
the
you made an
repatriation
important point. You've got
of people that
Gurdwaras
we
where you
really
have
wanted.
pictures of
Abu Jandal
people who are accused of
from
terrorists.
Saudi Arabia,
Their
for
posters
example,
being put up, which you're
who
saying
was
is unacceptable.
involved in 26/11.
Samir Kaushal, you're joining us. The fear is, from what Dave
Dubai,
also
who
said,
was a
that there has been a
henchman of Dawood
normalization
Ibrahim's.
of many of these
So,
people
at
who are
least at the
using
diplomatic
Canadian
level and the
soil
much
allegedly
closer
for
sharing of
terror
information and
activities,
collaboration between
for
the
hate
intelligence
speech.
agencies at the highest levels
How do you see
has
it?
netted us a few gains.
Thank you so much, Rajiv,
I
first
want
of
to
all,
just
taking
come
me.
also
I
again
think
to that
it's
difference
very
in numbers
concerning
between the rest
matter.
of India
yes,
and
it is
Punjab.
normalizing day by day.
Because I think
but
what I
if you
hear
look at
around
the
town
hypocrisy
is
of the
people
authorities over here,
saying,
the same referendum, though I'm not
kids
against
in
or
Canada,
in favor of the
our
referendum,
brothers in
the
Canada
same
again
referendum
going to
which
have to
happened
be
a few days
afraid
back
that they may be
in
dubbed
one of
a
the Gurdwara, prominent Gurdwara,
even though they have
Mr.
nothing
Hardeep
to
Singh
do
Nijjar
with
was
it.
president.
Will they be dubbed a terrorist?
The
Will
same
that travel
referendum was
become harder?
cancelled in a school, and that has been cancelled by the school district. They
it's
said
something that
they
your
were showing
viewers should keep in mind
pictures
that if
of
there
a
is
weapon
one thing that
in the
Sikhs
school,
in
and
particular
that was going
are
beyond
sensitive
their
about
policies.
is
So
don't question
the
their
city authority, the
patriotism.
provincial authority,
They
the federal
fight
authority,
on the front
they
line,
let that
and
same
the
pictures
evidence is
go
there in all
circulate,
the
published
tricolor wrapped
in
bodies
whole
that
of the
come
city,
back.
not just in the city,
And
over
it's a
the
real
internet as well.
sensitive pain point
I'm not
for
understanding
anyone.
the
I've seen some
incident of this
uninformed
murder, the
commentary going
unfortunate murder,
around once
happened
again.
in Canada,
Absolutely.
in
I
the
saw
city
from
of Surrey.
Karina
The investigation agency is
just
the
anyone who
jurisdiction
does
Surrey of Surrey
saying that
RCMP.
Sikhs need to
And
prove
what
that
kind
they're
of
not
evidence
Khalistani.
Mr.
Sikhs
Justin
don't
Trudeau
need to
is
prove that they're
asking
not
from
Khalistani. The
India?
government needs to act
Yes,
against those who
I
are,
am very much sure
rather than
because
trying
he's
to
the Honourable Prime
brandish an
Minister
entire
of Canada
proud
and he's
community in the same brush
representing
that is
Canada on the
completely
international
abhorrent.
platform. But
any
the
community can
way
have a loony
he
fringe.
categorically say that there are
Treat it
certain
as that.
credible
Keep it beyond the
allegations.
pale.
Now he's saying credible,
and don't tarnish the
reasoning
mainstream.
for that.
Oh, absolutely. That is a
But
very,
I'm
very
surprised
important
with only
messaging
one
because
fact.
even during the
If
farm
he's
protest, we
having
saw
any kind of
some people, including ministers in the government, try and brandish or question the entire community, which is absolutely unacceptable and very unfortunate. Question those who pick up arms against the state or those who are fueling incendiary fires. You cannot make this an affront to the pride of an entire community. That is completely unacceptable. Are Indian diplomats in Canada safe? Here the response is 54% say yes, they are safe. 27% of the respondents say no, Indians in Canada are not safe. I'll show you the results in Punjab. 35% say yes, Indian diplomats in Canada are unsafe. 41% say no, they are not unsafe. Overall, 54% saying Indian diplomats in Canada are unsafe. Last question. Are good relations with Canada now impossible? 37% of the respondents say it's impossible. We can't possibly have good relations with Canada. 39% of the respondents say no, it's still possible to have good relations with Canada. And that is where I wrap up
I think India
this
should
week's
point
political
out
stock
the
exchange.
contradictions in
Very,
what
very
Mr.
timely this
Trudeau
data
is
set
saying
from
and
Yashwant
what
Deshmukh
Canada
and his
does.
team at Seawater, because
Mr.
you've
Trudeau
got
is
your opinion
eloquent in
and
saying
now
that
you've got
Canada
a
would
lot
like
of data
to
with which you can
pursue
judge and
and
weigh that
wants
opinion
to
in
be-
terms of whether it is in
wants the
consonance with the national mood, the mood in
international
Punjab,
rules-based order to be
or at
pursued.
variance. Yashwant
If
Deshmukh for
that
turning
is
this
the
around
case,
so quickly
then
for
why
us.
is it
A big
that
thank you
for
to you and your
over
team at
4
Seawater. Thank you,
decades,
Navdeep Suri, for joining us.
Canada has
And also to
allowed
Brahma
terrorist
Chalani and to
activities
Manjinder Sirsa.
to be
Slipping into a
carried
quick break
out
right now. We'll have Vikram
from
Singh
its
Majithia
soil,
in the same
and all
direction.
evidence
Question
given to them
number
has
2
been
on your
brushed
screen
aside.
now.
That is one.
What do you make of the charge that Justin Trudeau has leveled that India is responsible for the killing of
Canadian
Nijjar?
laws,
Here
and
are
Canada
the
has done
responses.
nothing to
57%
and
of the
third,
overall
and I
respondents
say
say
this,
no, India is not responsible for killing Niger. Even amongst those who said they voted for the opposition, 54% of the respondents say no, India did not kill Niger. So the sentiment very strongly as people suggesting they don't think India is responsible for the killing of this Khalistani terrorist. Let's take a look at the responses in Punjab on the same question. Here, it's 37% saying no. Nationally, it was 57% saying no. So it's 20% less than that. 37% say no. 29% say yes. Nationally, it was 16. So 13% more people say India may have been responsible for the killing of the Khalistani terrorist. I want to show you question number 3.
Canada publicly, given
what
the
if
fact
Indian agencies killed the Khalistani terrorist? What if India actually ordered an extrajudicial killing? Do you support that or not?
On the allegation,
they did
what
the
should
right
we be
thing,
doing? Should
say
we call out
61,
Canada
6
day
out of
after
10
day
respondents
publicly?
in this sea voter India Today political stock exchange tracker say yes, if India did kill a Khalistani terrorist, the government did the right thing, say 61, they are wrong, say 14. Let's look at the mood in Punjab on the same question. Even in Punjab, 40% of the respondents say yes, they did the right thing. They are wrong, say 25. This is, of course, India has denied that they are responsible for the killing of the Khalistani terrorists, even if that is somehow true. In Punjab also 40% say, yes, that's the right thing. Nationally that number was at 61. So with this now, let me introduce our guests who are joining me on this broadcast.
Because the
I want to welcome first Yashwant Deshmukh, the lead cephalogist at Sea Water, with us also on this broadcast for context and perspective is Brahma Chalani, one of India's best known strategic affairs experts. We have Navdeep Singh Suri, Distinguished Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, former ambassador, and we have Manjinder Singh Sirsa, National Secretary and spokesperson of the BJP. I want to go across first and foremost to Yashwant Deshmukh. On your numbers, the mood very clearly seems to suggest that people think that Trudeau is doing what he is because he wants to benefit in the Canadian elections and because he's under pressure from pro-Khalistani elements inside Canada.
I think temperatures will unfortunately rise.
One very interesting thing which is coming from this particular round of PSE poll,
Canada has precipitated.
Earlier, every time we did a tracking poll on any such pressing issue, we could see a very, very partisan kind of answers based on the political orientation ideology. I guess that after a long time,
as some kind of a heroic figure,
we got to
as some
an
kind of
issue
a
where
martyred figure,
actually there is
or
hardly any
is there a
division as far
recognition
as
that many of the people who are in Canada are today flirting with the Khalistani movement, have resorted to hate speech and violence that you spoke about? How does the Indian community in Surrey look at what's happening, Mr.
response from rest of India and Punjab is concerned?
I think probably 80 to 90% of the Indo-Canadian community in Surrey and in Canada don't really agree with the Khalistani issues. They think if they want Palestine, they should go deal with it in India rather than in Canada. But they're probably smaller minority, probably around 10%, maybe 15% maximum, who are behind this. And usually they get all the press coverage, media coverage with the politicians. And sadly enough, some of the politicians at the federal level, like the Prime Minister, he probably thinks who are briefed some. All the Indo-Canadians on the same page. Most Indo-Canadians want nothing to do with the Khalstan. They say that's something for India, should be left with India. But they are not very vocal because they don't want to be assaulted if they publicly go out and speak against these people. Because if you take a look at the history of some of the people, it's very violent. So most of the general public doesn't want to speak against them publicly. But generally,
across the political divide. Brahma Chalani, 57% of the respondents nationally say India did not kill the Khalistani terrorists, and even if it were true that Indian agencies did kill the Khalistani terrorists, 61% seem to support the move. What do you make of the kind of responses we've picked up in the political stock exchange?
Elements, because the fear is the Canadian government of Trudeau, because of the alliance it has with a party where there are large Sikh elements, because there's who are seen to have links possibly with some of these extremist elements, that Mr. Trudeau or indeed across party lines, they need to speak out against violence. I mean, a rules-based order, as Mr. Kanwal said, cannot tolerate violence and hate speech or language that is seen to encourage secessionism of any kind.
Opposing the fact that he died,
first of all,
that he died,
I'm
whether
going
he died
to
of
disagree with
natural cause
Mr.
or he died of
Katu's
unnatural
statement
cause,
regarding
that's a different issue.
the judiciary
But
of
the fact that
Canada.
a dreaded terrorist
is very
is
strong here.
formed is
Fine,
something
I
that
can understand the
Indians can
emotions
only
are very
welcome.
high, and sometimes we just
Do you want to
flow
just
with the
quickly
emotion.
recap
But
for
as far
those
as you said, the
watching
community should
the
come out, and
charges
community
against
should
KS
say,
Nijjar,
I think we
because
have a
a
diverse
lot of
community,
people
and
in Canada and
recently I
elsewhere
just got
trying to
some
project
information.
him as
Recently, I just got some
a
information that
Sikh
Pakistani
preacher
community,
in
the
charge of a
Pakistan Canadian
Gurdwara,
community,
a man
is
of
coming
religion,
forward
not a
in
man of
favor,
violence.
in support of Mr. Justin Trudeau, and
The
they
thing
are
is that,
organizing a rally,
like,
I think within
some
1 or
of the
2 days, in
prominent
solidarity with Justin
fugitives
Trudeau.
from India
So
that
the
are
jump of
based
Pakistani community
in
in
Canada's
this whole
British Columbia
case
province,
is,
these guys entered
change the
Canada
narrative
illegally,
of this
including
discussion
Mr.
totally in a
Nijjar.
different way.
They
But that
entered
would
Canada
be
illegally
again
with the help of
a
criminal
dangerous
bands.
turn that it would take.
And
Vivek Kaju, you heard from
given
Samir
the growing
Kaushal saying,
Sikh
look,
militancy
he
in
still has
British
faith
Columbia,
there in
in particular
Canadian
in Canada,
courts. Has the
there is a
time
growing
come,
nexus
Mr.
between criminal
Kaju,
bands and radical
for India
Khalistanis,
in a way
which
to
has led to
send out?
frequent
How does India? I come
gangland
back to where I started.
killings.
What is the message India sends out then?
Nijjar was very much part
First, let me
of
respond
this
to
nexus.
to Samir ji.
In fact,
If India
after he
sends
illegally
material
entered Canada, twice
to
he applied
Canada
for refugee status, and each
about
time
interrogation,
his
reports,
application was
etc.,
rejected
the
by
first
authorities.
thing that comes
That's
into
the
the
background of
mind
this
of the
guy, who was
Canadian
wanted in India for
prosecutors and
multiple
Canadian
acts
legal
of terror.
system is
But he
how
was
was
not.
this
He was not on India's
material
list of
obtained?
most wanted terrorists.
Am I wrong,
So I,
Samir?
need to make that clear, because
There is
there are a number
deep
of terrorists
suspicion.
that are hiding
There is
abroad.
deep.
There are household
One by
names
one,
in
one by
India.
one.
For example, everybody
Let
knows
me
about
complete.
Yes.
Hafiz
There
Saeed,
is deep
Masood Azhar,
suspicion
etc.
about
Dawood
Indian
Abraham is
systems.
another
That
example.
is why
But,
not once
until
has
this
anyone
guy
been extradited.
died,
Why
not many
is it
people
that
knew about him
with
in India,
all the evidence
because he was
available
not
against
among the most
Nijjar
wanted
himself,
terrorists in India?
no action
Okay.
was taken to
Now,
extradite
Manjinder
him?
Singh Sirsa,
Why was it that in
what is interesting
1982,
in the data
Mrs.
is
Gandhi
the fact
herself
that
asked
whether
Pierre
the
Trudeau
voter is an
to
NDA
extradite a
voter
man
or
who
he's
later
voting
was
for the
involved
opposition,
with
there
the
is a
conspiracy
high level of
of
alignment
the
on
Kanishk
questions
bombing,
to do with
where
India,
329
Canada,
people died. Is
Khalistan,
that racist
Trudeau's
or not?
action, the charges. It
I'm
seems
sorry,
the
I'm using
mood
the word.
in the
It's a
country
difficult word
is
to use.
very similar,
But that is the
regardless of
approach
which side one sits
that
in the
the
political
Indian
divide.
system has deep lacunas and you can't
No,
trust it.
definitely the mood has
This
to
is
be
the
similar.
approach of the Canadians.
Reason being,
That is why
everybody
the
is a patriot
Canadians
here,
ask
and when it
Indian
comes to a
security
country,
personnel
I
applying
don't
for
feel any
visas.
single person will
Where have you served?
say that I
If
don't
you
stand with
served
my
in
country.
J&K,
So here the
Jammu and
question is
Kashmir,
that Trudeau is
battling
raising this issue in the
terrorism,
parliament.
we will not
Being a
give you
prime
a
minister,
visa.
he is supposed to give
They
evidence,
ask
whether by saying,
questions that
yeah, I
no
doubt,
sovereign government has
or मुझे शक है,
entitled
or
to
something
ask.
word like
They
this
ask
cannot be a
questions
word
which
for a
means the
international when you are
breaking of
using this for a
Indian laws by these
counterpart with
visa
other country, vice
applicants.
versa.
It is the sovereign
So
right
by
of
saying
a
this,
state
that
to
I doubt
deny
that
or
India could
accept
be
a
involved or
visa
India could be involved
application.
in this
It is not the
act of
sovereign right
violence or in
of a
this
state,
killing.
Samir,
By
to
simply
ask a
saying that,
visa
yesterday also he gave a
applicant to
statement. He
break
said
his own
India should
laws.
join us,
I
India
think
That
should
is why it
help
is
us out
racist.
in finding.
Okay.
So whether
That's
he
a
has
word
asked any kind of
one
help,
should use, of
whether
course,
India
very
has denied any
carefully.
kind of help,
I
he
am
never said
using
this.
it carefully
So
with the
everybody in this
Canadians.
nation knew now
I
that
want
what
to give
Trudeau
Samir
did is
15
for it's a
seconds to
political
respond. You're
stunt.
speaking to us all the way
He
from
did why he
Vancouver.
did
A
so
quick
because
response,
he had a
Samir.
backlash when he went back
Absolutely, I
to
think
Canada from
the
India
word,
because
the
nobody
choice of the
in
word is
G20
does
after
matter over here.
countries
It
made
is
by
not the
America
judiciary,
and
those who
nobody
have to
cared for
take
him.
care of what is
So that was
happening.
the media was
If
doing
government
his
of
life
India is
like
sending
there,
any
but
kind of
that was the
information, I
reason he
can
came out of the
understand
parliament.
there may
Somebody
be a
raised this
weakness of the
question.
intelligence
So even
agencies or
if he was
the
aware of this
policies
fact,
of the
why
government.
before coming to India he could have said
Samir, the
that,
fact is,
or
after the Kanish
he could have
bombing, a
waited
lot
to
of evidence
conclude the
was provided.
investigation.
The
And
fact is, the
thirdly,
Canadians
day
did
before
not
yesterday,
act on it. This was
criminal
actionable
was killed
evidence that was provided. And that's why the sense is people have got away in Canada for too long, and the time has come to call them out. Yes, it's not easy, but it has to be done.
Okay. Now, Deep Suri, you've been a diplomat. You also understand politics.
Possibly it can be done hopefully behind closed doors. We do not
current
want
popularity
people,
numbers of
average
Justin
citizens, to get
Trudeau
caught in the crossfire. But either
relative
way,
to his
we just
opponents
hope
in
that
Canadian
somebody
politics.
wakes up
There's an
and
election coming
recognizes
up in a year or so
terrorism
from
is
now.
unacceptable.
Who
In
is
a
the
rules-based
preferred
order,
Prime Ministerial candidate?
extrajudicial killings or
Trudeau's
assassinations are
popularity
unacceptable,
stands at only
but so are
31%.
those who
40%
harbor
would like his
terrorists on their
principal
soil.
opponent, Pierre
Think
Poilievre,
about it. I
to be
appreciate
the
my
next
guest
Prime
joining
Minister.
me.
22% want Jagmeet Singh of the NDP.
Thanks for watching.
Remember,
You stay well,
Trudeau
stay safe.
and Jagmeet
Good night.
Singh are in an
Shubhratri.
alliance.
Jai Hind, Namaskar. The good news is India
has
is won the
at
first
40%. He's
ODI
number one.
against Australia.
Now, this
Lots of cricket
assertion
also
that's being
in the
made
months ahead.
that he's doing
For
this
now,
to salvage low popularity
Namaskar.
ratings, to what extent do you believe that that could be true? Because even in the sea water data, most people think he's doing it to benefit in local elections and he's under pressure from the Khalistani lobby.
Well, I think that seems self-evident, and he's been doing this for several years. I think the attachment to the Khalistani lobby seems to be directly proportional to his falling numbers. But otherwise, we've seen it in his Bhangra gigs, we've seen it in his various appearances, trying to curry favor with a section of the Sikh community in Canada. But Rahul, I want to make 2 points, if I may. One is because perhaps I'm sitting in Amritsar and you've drawn a poll in Punjab. So let me take a shot at the very interesting numbers that you threw out. Even while there's a great deal of agreement, and your numbers showed that, on the India-Canada issue, India is doing the right thing, and there was no difference between your numbers in India as a whole and in Punjab. But there is a real disquiet in Punjab because it disproportionately sends people to Canada, right? Of the millions strong, whatever Indian community is, 60% is from Canada. And today, when you read the headlines and you look at all the newspapers and listen to some of the commentary on YouTube, the sense you get is two kinds of worry. One is people whose families are in Canada and who were waiting for their parents and others. There's a holiday season coming up, there's a festive season coming up, there's a wedding season coming up. And there are people who are keen to come to India, as they do every year at this time of the year. What happens to their visas? Because we know it's a reality that many people, despite repeated urgings by our embassies, our consulates, and by the Ministry of External Affairs, have not availed of the OCI card. Now, are they stranded? Are we going to find ways to deal with it? People who have legitimate reasons to come to India over the next 3-4 months, however long it is. Secondly, in Amritsar and I'm sure in other cities in Punjab, there's a real disquiet about people who have deposited fees, 15-20 lakhs for their kids to be admitted to Canadian universities, and who are now thinking, what's going to happen to their visas? Because even though the Canadians haven't announced it reciprocally and perhaps won't, because they need those students to fund their universities, but from the perspective of the persons whose kids are in the pipeline today, the downsizing of Canadian missions in Delhi means longer visa queues automatically. So I just wanted to say that there's a humanitarian...
Those are important points. I want Manjinder Sirsa from the BJP to respond. You're raising the concern about the community having a sense of being disquiet and concerned. There are families in Canada. Virtually everyone in Punjab has somebody in Canada and vice versa amongst the Punjabi community. Many of them want to come back. The holiday season is here. There are students who are in the pipeline to go. You want to reduce the size of the High Commission. That means that visa delays increase. It's already several months late. It could be delayed even further. Manjinder Sirsa, how does your government and your party respond to these concerns from Mr. Suri?
So definitely these are the biggest concerns when it comes to Punjab and the people living in Canada, because as Mr. Suri very well said, that most of the people are from Punjab. We are also concerned about that. We are also looking at that. The situation is getting turning to the worst point after the situation created by the Prime Minister of Canada, when it threw out the diplomat.
But I was speaking earlier in the day to Vikram Majiti, and he said, why should an entire community, an entire state be punished for the actions of a few? Target the Khalistanis, go after them rather than put the entire community and an entire state in a state of limbo.
No, nobody is putting an entire state or entire community. Definitely, that's a big challenge. As I very well said, it's a big case challenge for us also, because either half of the families in Canada and half of the families in Punjab, and we are facing. But the problem here is the question should be asked from Trudeau, not from the Indian Prime Minister, because he was the one who threw out our diplomat. He went to the Parliament. said
no,
something,
but the visa,
came out,
no.
simply
Sir,
shut
the
down.
difference is that
Said you have to leave the country within
asking a diplomat to leave is between governments.
Make
asking
your media
a diplomat to
presence
leave is
smarter
between
with
governments.
India Today
Putting
live
all
TV
visas
on your
in
connected
suspension
devices.
then impact the larger
Amplify
community,
your
and there are
brand
many
with
more Indians
100
wanting to
million
go to
smart
Canada
internet
than there are
viewers.
Canadians wanting to come to India.
Advertise, mail us at
So there are two different
sales
set of people. One are with the
@outstuck.com.
Canadian. No Indian requires a visa. They already have a visa and have OCI card. But yes, the people who have taken the passport, Canadian passport there will be no problem. And the government will take care of them also. It is not for the Indian people who want to come back. I'm sure the government will not see any single person get affected by this order. I'm sure about that.
Navdeep Suri raised the concern about students who are in the pipeline. If the High Commission gets, staff strength is reduced, then there are concerns that there will be massive visa delays.
No, but visa delay from Canadian side or from Indian side? It cannot be from Indian side because the Canadian visa is issued by a Canadian government here in Delhi.
That's what I'm saying. So if they reduce the size of the High Commission, it will increase the pressure on the
India
officers
Today.
who are there. It will increase
Powered
the
by
time it will
Finesse,
take for
be
people to get
sustainable
visas.
change. A BNP Group
No,
company.
Rahul, but that is not our concern. That has to be taken care by the Canadian government.
पर आप ही ने बोला ना उनको कि अपने बंदे कम करो, तो हमारा इम्पैक्ट तो सूरी साहब वही तो बोल रहे हैं, इम्पैक्ट तो हमारे बंदों पे है.
And looking at how
no impact हमारे बंदों पे है definitely. पर जो visa, I'm just talking about the visa and the students who want to travel from Punjab to Canada. So it is not our government who has to decide. It's a Canadian government who has to decide this. So I don't believe that Surisa must be
well,
right.
what I think has happened is that in Canada, we've seen a lot of people who are in India who are Hindus who start to feel like second-class citizens over time, just because of the way that the Indian government tends to treat
let me get Navdeep Suri to respond
Sikhs
very
and
briefly because I
Muslims
have
as
a
being
lot
sort
of
of higher
questions I want to go
priority
through. But let him respond to what he's heard from the BJP
I think
spokesperson,
this
Mr. Suri.
current scandal with Justin Trudeau has really highlighted that
what
really
I was trying to
certain
say
communities
is
seem to
when
be
we
able to just
announced
do no
the
wrong in
decision
his eyes.
for the
So
Canadians
he's very
to
soft
downsize
on
their
Palestinian
diplomatic
extremism, whereas
representation in India
Hindu
to the
Canadians
same
tend to
level
get
as
ignored and
ours
also
in
belittled when it comes to
Canada.
their concerns
It
about
has an
extremism
unintended
and
consequence.
very
And that
violent
unintended
rhetoric towards
consequence
their
is
homeland
that
and their home
there are
government.
fewer consular staff to process
also,
visas.
there
That's
is,
the
in
limited
fact, like
point
you said,
I'm
no
making,
evidence
that
as far as this
it is
entire
the
issue
classic
is
case of the
concerned,
law of
but
unintended
it
consequences,
clearly
where
appears that
the
rumours
humanitarian
and
impact
hearsay and what
will be
the lies
felt
that
in Punjab, and
Khalistan
already
have been
people are
peddling
talking
was
about it. I'm
clearly
saying this because I
sold
happen
as
to be
so-called
here.
evidence
No, sure.
by the
I want to
Prime
run
Minister
now
of
and
Canada.
show our viewers responses
Well, they
to
didn't
the other
have
questions.
any information.
And
They
this is an
basically just
interesting
came out
question
with
from
an
Yashwant
accusation
Deshmukh's
and then
team
assumed
because
that it was going to be quickly backfilled.
a country like Israel, a
so
country
then
like the United
when
States,
they were basically
especially
pressured
post
today
9/11, has
after
been
they
going
kicked an
out and
Indian
doing
diplomat out of
targeted
the
killings
country,
of those who act
and then
against
India
American
responded
interests. When
rightfully in
Zawahiri is
kind,
killed, when
that
Osama
people were
bin
pressuring
Laden
them
is
to
killed,
come out
everyone
with
watching
evidence, and they
typically
just so
tends to
far
applaud.
haven't. Justin
Well
Trudeau
done,
did that
Obama. Well
pathetic
done,
press
Bush.
conference where he came out
Should India do the
and
same?
basically just
Here
said there's
are the
substantial
responses
accusations
to
after
that
he was asked by
question. This
Canadian
is going
media,
to
do you have
generate a
substantial
lot of
evidence?
chatter.
And if it's
This
just
question
substantial
from
accusations,
the
that
political
doesn't mean
stock
anything.
exchange. Should
All it
terrorists
means
be
is that
hunted
you have,
and
you just
eliminated?
have potentially
83%.
conspiracy theories being spread by
8 out of 10
Palestinians.
respondents
Even the
in this
CBC,
poll
who
say
is
yes,
like Canada State
terrorists should be
broadcaster,
hunted
are
and
basically acting
killed.
like lackeys of the Liberals, and then
Let's
pretending
look
like
at the
background
responses from
rumors
within Punjab.
are
In
somewhat
Punjab
can be
as well,
substituted as evidence.
64% of the respondents say terrorists should be hunted and killed. 17% say no. That is massive. That just suggests.
As of now, we have no records, as there is no report and no updation
it's extrajudicial.
on
You're going into
immigration
somebody
impacts
else's
from
country,
both the countries.
killing
so till we
a
receive
terrorist
anything
over there.
formally, we cannot
If you
comment
get a
on
big
that.
catch,
Right now,
your
immigration
voters
is going
like it.
as
It's
it was
always
going
diplomatically
process
tough to handle. But the mood in India very clear and very direct.
Some
What's
of
your
them
reaction
have,
to the
because
killing?
social
What's your
media
reaction
these days
to the
plays a
expulsion
great
of an
role
Indian
as to
diplomat
where
by
we
Canada?
procure our information.
18% say it doesn't matter. No reaction. 39% say India should expel one Canadian diplomat, which already has expelled all Canadian diplomats. Say 26%. That's a bit over the top. And that's just the populist mood. I won't take that very seriously. Is Trudeau supporting Khalistani terrorism? Let's come to this question. Is the government of Justin Trudeau and the Prime Minister himself supporting Khalistani terrorists? 60% say yes, 18% say no. in Punjab, responses to that same question are different quite naturally. Here, 39% are saying yes, 33% are saying no. Nationally, the number was 60 saying yes, and 18% saying no. Yashwant Deshmukh, this one number that you put out in this poll will generate a lot of chatter. 83% of the overall respondents say
for the killing
India
of terrorist
should hunt down terrorists.
In Canada. Pakistan's caretaker Prime
Rahul,
Minister
and again,
fears
the highlight is not that how many want to say that terrorists should be hunted down. The highlight for me is the sink of the opposition voter and the NDA supporters. What it tells us is that on certain issues, there are three different layers of question that we try to ask. Number, we try to check if people believe that Indian agencies did it. That was roughly in the 60s. That they believe that Indian agencies did not do it. Then we ask, what if they did it? Would that be a right thing to do? The number goes up to 70%. You know, it's the right thing to do. And then we ask a sweeping question: should they be, eliminated altogether? And no matter where they are, kind of sentiment, it goes further to 80%. And regardless of the political divide, regardless of the ideology, the numbers are more or less in sync on the same line. What is important for here to understand why we ask this question and to understand is the fact that probably very, very fine line, Rahul, that Western press, Western media, and including Western diplomats should be understanding that many of them think that it's because of the current government in charge that, these kind of aggressions are coming in, these kind of emotions are coming in. But what they are not realizing that in a democracy like India, even if tomorrow Congress comes to power, even if tomorrow Mr. Rahul Gandhi becomes the Prime Minister, he just cannot do away with the public emotion on such an issue. Probably no matter who comes to power, he is going to do the same line, he is going to take the same action. This is a different kind of India they are dealing with. Is the public emotion is very clear regardless across the political support line, and that emotion is going to support no matter who becomes the Prime Minister, no matter who wins the election. This kind of public emotion is going to force the government that they are going to choose, whichever way they choose, to go about the way they want to do.
So, Brahma Chirani, if I were to enter the realm of speculation just for a moment, when Prime Minister Modi was in opposition campaigning to be Prime Minister, as Chief Minister of Gujarat, he said publicly that why is Dawood Ibrahim not being taken down? What is this idea of just giving dossiers to Pakistan? Why can't we do more? We know that the likes of Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, again he hasn't spoken when he's been in government obviously, but while in opposition, advocated taking down terrorists and being far more proactive than our government had been in the past. Manohar Parrikar, when I interviewed him, spoke of using a thorn to take out another thorn. So one of the reasons why this is being said or looked at is because the government has been far more aggressive in its posture against terrorists than the government of Dr. Manmohan Singh.
India's money and tech power.
You have to distinguish rhetoric from action.
The balance of power. Now, clearly,
under Modi,
Pakistan,
India done any
reports that are coming in right now from Canada
the terrorists
seem to
based in
indicate that Pakistan is
still
also
thumping
trying
their
to
noses at
organize
India?
a mega rally.
There are more than
People's
100
rally,
UN
Pakistani People's
designated
Rally
terrorists
in support of Justin Trudeau. But before I get you more on the story, let's listen in to Pakistan's
several of them are wanted
caretaker
in
Prime
India
Minister.
for
Incidentally,
hundreds of
he
murders.
comes from Balochistan,
For
where
example,
either
Hafiz Saeed is
pluralism
wanted
or
for
Hindus
the
now
2008
hardly
Mumbai
survive.
massacre. What has India done
This initial
to Hafiz Saeed or Masood
unfortunate
Azhar or
killing
Dawood Abraham
of
or
Mr.
any
Singh
other prominent
on
terrorist?
Canadian soil
I mentioned earlier that Hardeep Singh Nijjar was a little known terrorist in India.
That omnious
if India has done nothing against the well-known, most wanted
we
terrorists,
Pakistan have always been critical
you think India would have gone
of
after
this jingoistic
Hardeep Singh Nijjar? And what is the basis of
Indian attitude?
Trudeau's allegation?
But for obvious
The police have
economic
not
and
arrested a
strategic
single suspect.
reasons,
They have not even
many
found the car in which these
players
killers
in the Western
escaped after
capital
killing
chose
Nijjar.
to ignore
There is no
this fact and
police
reality
statement of any kind. He's
and
relying
this
on
side
inputs from
of
intelligence.
politics over there.
Intelligence
To me,
is not evidence.
Hindutva, ISIS,
But if you want to rely
center
on
of the right,
intelligence,
present
you can do what
on European continent,
other governments have
probably
done in the
even
past.
here in the US.
They have provided photographic evidence,
in nature,
audio evidence,
it's a global
forensic evidence.
They claim to have evidence. Do you buy that, Brahmachalani? They claim that there is evidence which has been shared with the Five Eyes country. Do you buy that, or do you think that's just posturing?
Brotherhood of darkness.
Nothing has been released.
In Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is in the line of fire.
Release
the
audio.
opposition and
For example,
journalists are asking him, where is the evidence to claim credible allegations and credible reason
the
to
Turkish
show
government
a potential
released
link of Indian agents being
video
involved
footage
in the
of
killing of
Khashoggi
terrorist
going
Hardeep
inside
Singh
the Saudi
Nijjar.
consulate
Opinion
in
polls in
Istanbul
Canada
and
indicate
not coming out.
Justin Trudeau's
They had
popularity
audio
is
evidence
tanking. Pierre
of
Poilievre's
screams
popularity
inside
is
the Saudi
rising. We
consulate
bring
in
you this
Istanbul.
report from Canada.
They provided clear evidence of Saudi Arabia's hand in the murder
The Canadian
and
Prime
disappearance
Minister
of
has
Khashoggi.
just acknowledged India's
I can
global
name
clout.
several other cases, famous
There is no
international
question
cases, where
that India
flinching
is
evidence
a
has been
country of
provided.
growing importance.
Here, not even an audio has
In
been
his
released.
comments at the sidelines of the
See,
New
when
York
you
General
rely
Assembly,
on
Trudeau
intel,
also underscored
you're
the
basically
importance of
getting
his
into a
country's
spy
broader
game.
engagement with
Because
India on the world
what
stage.
intelligence agencies do is they collect
There is no
evidence,
question
not collect
that
information, not
India
evidence,
is a
and the
country of
information is
growing
processed
importance
and tailored to
and a country
advance
that we
geopolitical
need
interests
to
of the country.
continue to
Now, for
work
example,
with,
in the
not
case
just
of-
in the region,
in the
but around
present
the
case,
world.
what
And we're
they're
not
calling
looking to provoke
credible allegations. Look at it.
or-
It's not even,
or,
they're not even calling it evidence. You know, the
cause
own
problems.
words. Credible allegations.
At the
as
same
if
time, the Canadian
allegations
Prime
can be
Minister
credible.
reiterated
Allegations
his
are
allegation
allegations.
regarding
There's
the death of
credible
slain
evidence, but not
Khalistani
credible-
leader
credible,
Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
allegations, you know,
New
and
Delhi
there
has
is no
already
evidence of any
strongly
kind.
refuted.
So, but I think it's important to
Asked to
keep in
characterize
mind
the
one
evidence
thing,
he
that,
claims to be having,
that you know,
Trudeau
about hit
dodged
jobs,
a direct
that
question.
when he stood up in Parliament, Trudeau, and
Prime
mourned
Minister,
the
India
death
has
of
rejected
this,
your allegations.
what he called Canadian citizen, actually a dreaded international
According to
terrorist
official
fugitive,
sources,
and
India
he
has
offered
sent
condolences
multiple deportation
to
requests for wanted
Nijjar's
terrorists
family.
and gangsters to
That
Canada.
same
But
Prime
Canada has
Minister
ignored
last
all
year
of them.
celebrated publicly
A
the US
deportation request
assassination
for
of
gangster
Al-Zawahiri,
Goldie Brar, who took
saying it's a step
responsibility for the
toward
killing of
peaceable
Punjabi
world.
rapper Sidhu
Same guy.
Moosewala, and who is
Just look
believed
at
to be
his
in Canada,
stunning
has also
hypocrisy.
gone unheard.
Al-Zawahiri was an old man, retired terrorist.
In its dossier
of
to
no
Canada,
threat to
India has
anybody.
also
He was
raised
taken out by the
serious
Americans
concerns
because
about at
Biden
least
wanted to
9
show that he's a tough
Canada-based
leader after the
separatist
debacle in
organizations
Afghanistan, in
supporting
surrendering
outlawed
Afghanistan to the
groups
Taliban.
like the
But
Khalistan
here is
Tiger
Nijjar.
Force, the
He
Sikhs
is
for
being shielded
Justice,
by
and
the
the Babbar
Trudeau
Khalsa
government.
International.
He's a threat to India. He's a threat to Canadian security.
The issue of deportations
And yet,
of wanted
when he's-
terrorists and
when he's
gangsters
dead,
raised by
Trudeau
Indian
sheds tears
authorities
in
in
Parliament.
multiple diplomatic
The guy's
and security
It's
talks.
appalling.
Now,
8
Navdeep, sorry, from a
individuals
diplomatic
involved in
lens,
terror activities
how do you
and as many
respond to
gangsters
the
who have been
overwhelming
conspiring
majority
with
that seems to
Pakistan's
suggest that
ISI
India
have found
should
a
go
safe
out, in
haven
fact,
in
and take
Canada?
down terrorists? Now, this is the kind of thing you never admit to,
If
never
there is any
accept
country, if you're talking
publicly,
about
legally,
reputational,
and
issues
yet at
and
this
reputational
moment,
damage, if there's
this
one any
growing
country
desire
that,
to do what
needs to
Israel
look at this, I
or
think
the
it is
United
Canada
States do.
and its growing reputation.
So I
as,
think you have a
place,
disconnect
as a safe
between
haven for
the
terrorists,
sentiment
for
that the
extremists,
public
and
has
for organized
articulated
crime.
in
I
your
think
poll
that's the
and what
country
is
that
very
needs to worry
visible
about
in social
international
media,
reputation.
which is a back
An
slapping,
unprecedented
back chest
diplomatic
thumping
row
kind of
between
thing.
the two
Yes, we did
countries,
it kind of
otherwise sharing a
sentiment.
robust
And you have the
trade,
denial
diplomatic
from the
and strategic
government.
partnership.
Maybe a better
Bureau report,
approach
India
would be what the
Today.
Israelis do so effectively, which is standard.
Let me now
Neither
quickly
confirm
take you
nor
to
deny.
Canada and get you the latest. Joining
That
me on India
ambiguity
First
that the
is
Israelis
White
use and
Claypool.
others
He's
use
a
it
senior
too,
correspondent with the National Telegraph. White,
keeps the
welcome on India
deniability
First.
around.
What's the
It
response
also
in
leaves
Canada
the fear
to
in the
Justin
minds
Trudeau
of
talking about
those
credible
who may or
allegations
may not
and
be
credible
targeted,
reason
that,
to believe,
the long
but
arm of
not
your law
about
can reach
credible
out
evidence
wherever you are if you have been guilty of perpetrating a terrorist act.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
But
if you ask
on Mr.
people from
Chalani's
like the Canadian
point,
Broadcasting
let me just
Corporation,
say
Canada's
that
publicly
it isn't
funded
as if
news
nothing has been
broadcaster,
done.
they're trying to
what
walk
we have
away
been
and kind of
fairly
avoid
successful in,
any
I think, in
issues
the last
around,
few years is
like they're trying to basically
using our
put meat on the
excellent
bones of
relationship
Justin Justin Trudeau's allegations by publishing their own unsubstantiated rumors that they know someone who talked to a guy who talked to a guy who talked to an Indian official who didn't deny the allegations. It's not even evidence of anything. It's just basically saying, well, we talked to someone, they did deny it. But if you talk to independent media in Canada, or a lot of the average Canadian citizen who isn't like a rabid Trudeau supporter, most of them are just embarrassed by this because they think that if you're ever going to accuse an international country of doing something wrong, especially now, you show up
few
with
gains.
smoking gun type
But
proof.
I want
You don't just sort of throw out an allegation and just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, there's an ongoing investigation. We can't give out any evidence." That's not how anything works. And everyone trying to make excuses are effectively just joining on Justin Trudeau's conspiracy theory and deluding themselves to pretend like the emperor's not like wearing clothes when he's not.
They may be dubbed a Khalistani.
So you're saying Justin Trudeau actually appears to be like the emperor with no clothes.
Will that travel become
the question
harder?
That perhaps people in Canada also want to know, in India very keen to know,
it's something that your viewers should keep in mind, that if there is one thing that Sikhs in particular
as far as Niger is concerned, the killers are yet to be arrested. Have the killers even been identified? Are there any
fight on the front
suspects?
line. And the evidence is there in all the
the thing is that what the general initial report was when Jean was killed was that there was two men who had committed it. They shot him and they maybe quickly drove away or something like that, and that's all we have. We've never identified the two individuals. So we've never identified the two individuals. I don't know how we're so all fire sure that we can say who's behind potentially backing the killing. And again, like we've seen from the Indian government, they're saying if you give us some actual information that we can action on and we can investigate ourselves and we can confirm if we had an Indian problem, they very likely do not. They will do it, but Justin Trudeau will not hand them information. So when he went to G20 and brought this up to Modi, it was like he just wanted to poke him in the eye and then run away. He wasn't actually trying to make a real allegation. I think when Modi effectively rejected Trudeau at the G20 and basically, didn't take him seriously, that's when Trudeau went back to Parliament and made these allegations. It's a pure ego play. Like you see Justin Trudeau as a person on social issues, he's very much a cultural Marxist. He tries to break every issue down into oppressor and oppressed. So even though it doesn't fit the situation, Justin Trudeau wants to make these Sikh Khalistanis the oppressed, and he wants to make Hindu Indians the oppressors, even though it doesn't make any sense. Like one of the most disgusting things going on right now is just the fact that Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, and many liberal media outlets in Canada are pretending that Sikh Canadian is synonymous with Khalistan. It's completely disgusting. It's like saying that Catholics are synonymous with IRA.
Impossible. 37% of the respondents say it's impossible. We can't possibly have good relations with Canada. 39% of the respondents say no, it's still possible to have good relations with Canada. That's happening, that intelligence has been shared, I wrap up this week's political stock exchange. Very, very timely, this data set from Yashwant Deshmukh and his team at Seawater, because you've got your opinion, and now you've got a lot of data with which you can judge and weigh that opinion in terms of whether it is in consonance with the national mood or the mood in Punjab or at variance. Yashwant Deshmukh for turning this around so quickly for us. A big thank you to you and your team at Seawater. Thank you, Navdeep Suri, for joining us. And
it's sometimes that speaks of what the government makes their priority is that if they like Justin Trudeau thinks that he aims towards saying this is if Justin Trudeau sort of sets his aim on that it's the Indian government, he thinks that he's somehow going to be able to find evidence to substantiate that claim. So I think what the Indian government and Indian people need to watch out for is in the next week Justin Trudeau suddenly coming out with a piece of evidence, and it's going to be just bogus nonsense. It's going to be stuff that if you really squint and turn your head, maybe you could see what he's talking about, but he's going to be scrambling here. So I think that if he does come out with anything, people have to be very careful to look it over and make sure that this isn't just him trying to read into vague details to find sort of an Indian culprit.
Okay, let's take a look at the responses in Punjab on the same question. Here, it's 37% saying no. Nationally, it was 57% saying no. So it's 20% less than that. 37% say no. That is why he's targeting India. Say yes. It's all diversionary nationally, it was 16. So 13% more people say India may have been responsible for the killing of the Khalistani terrorists. True. I want to show you question number 3.
Yeah, 100%. I commend you for pronouncing Pure Polyev's name right. People in Canada half the time can't even do that. But no, like Justin Trudeau's only if you look at certain polls for like Abacus data shows he's only at 27% approval with like 53% disapproval. His party's only at 26% in the polls compared to 41% for the Conservatives. So I think Justin Trudeau was trying to generate some sort of patriotic trap whereby potentially the Conservatives not backing him on this accusation against the Indian government
government,
Punjab on
maybe
the
he
same
could
question.
accuse the Conservatives of
Even
not
in
being
Punjab,
sufficiently
40%
patriotic
of the
enough,
respondents
and then
say
see if
yes,
he can
they
win
did
votes
the right
back that
thing.
way. But it's
They are wrong,
completely
say 25.
backfiring
This
on
is,
him,
of
because
course,
the
India
least
is denying
patriotic thing you can
that
do
they are
as a
responsible for the
Canadian
killing of the
is make the
Khalistani
country
terrorists,
look like a
even if
fool
that
by
is
going
somehow
around and
true.
attacking its own
In
allies
Punjab
without
also
evidence.
40% say yes, that's
And
the right
Hardeep
thing.
Nijjar,
Nationally,
in
that
India,
number was at 61.
he's seen as a
So with this,
terrorist.
now
He's
let me introduce
accused
our
of being
guests who are
involved
joining me
in killing
on this
innocents in
broadcast.
India,
I
generating
want to
funds
welcome
for
first
terror.
Yashwant
There's been
Deshmukh,
an
the lead
Interpol
psephologist
red
at
corner
Seawater.
notice against him,
With
not
us
once,
also
but
on this
twice.
broadcast for
2014,
context and
2016,
perspective is Brahma
Canada
Chalani, one of India's
India
best
sought
known
cooperation from
strategic
Canada,
affairs
but,
experts. We have Navdeep
Canada
Singh
hasn't
Suri,
cooperated
distinguished
with
fellow
India
at the Observer
at
Research
all. Is all of this known
Foundation,
in
former
Canada?
ambassador,
Is this a
and
part
we have
of
Manjinder Singh
conversations
Sirsa,
in Canada?
National Secretary and Spokesperson of the BJP.
Well, that's the
I want to go
extremely
across
ironic
first and
thing is that
foremost to
India
Yashwant
has
Deshmukh.
evidence
On
of
your
Nijar's
numbers,
involvement with
the
radical,
mood
violent
very
extremists
clearly
and potentially
seems to
even being
suggest
involved in helping
that
coordinate
people
attacks
think that
or
Trudeau is
strategize with
doing what he
Khalistani
is
groups in Punjab as well as
because he wants
Canada.
to benefit in the
And
Canadian
Canadian government
elections
never worked
and
with India,
because he's
and now
under
the Canadian
pressure from
government shows up to the
pro-Khalistani
table
elements
with no
inside
evidence and
Canada.
says India should cooperate and investigate themselves.
Well, Rahul,
Investigate
one
themselves
very
with what
interesting
evidence?
thing which
And
is
where were
coming
you
from this
guys when
particular round
we
of
were
PSE
calling
poll,
out extremists? Like this is the most ridiculous
every time
kind
we
of
did a
framing of
tracking
the issue
poll on
ever that Justin Trudeau is
such
currently
pressing
engaging
issue,
in.
we could
That
see
somehow
a very,
India
very partisan
the
kind
responsibility
of
is always on India to do things, and it's never on the
based
Canadian
on the
government
political
under
orientation
his Liberal
ideologies.
government.
I guess that after a
And what
long
about terror
time,
backers
after
like
you know,
Gurpatwant
we
Singh
got to
Pannu
an issue
of
where
this
actually there is
so-called
hardly any
organization called
division
Seeks for
as far as the
Justice.
opposition voters or
He's
anti voters
threatening Hindus
are
in Canada.
concerned.
He's
So
telling Hindus
particularly
to
this is
leave
and also
Canada.
the fact that
Is that
even though
acceptable? Is
I
that
was
free speech?
expecting
Is there
some
no
difference as far
anger
as
that the Justin
response
Trudeau
from rest of
administration
India and
is
Punjab
not
is
taking
concerned,
any
but
action
it is not
either
as
against the
big a
Khalistani
change that
terrorists
would have been
or their
contrasting of
ideologues or their
sorts.
sympathizers
So
like Pannu and
arguably,
co?
this is one. Ironically, for Canada,
Yeah, like I know
Trudeau,
the thing is, I think a
it is
lot of
one
Canadians
thing,
are finally
one
waking
issue
up to this
which
fact
has
that
kind of
both the Canadian
united
government and a
more or
lot
less
of our
people
very
across India.
established
And
liberal-friendly media
whatever,
has undercovered
whatever,
the issue of
the way
Khalistanis. And like I said
many in the
before,
West might
it's
have been
really
thinking
gross
of
what the
Indians
government's
having
doing,
different
where they're
opinion or
basically
different
pretending
idea on
as
this
if Sikh
particular
Canadians are the same thing as a Khalistani
play or
Canadian.
game of
And so
That's
whenever
a
you
very
see someone like
important point
Nijar or
Yashwant
his lawyer
Deshmukh
saying Hindus should
makes,
leave the country,
because since
they
the
just call
time
him a
I've been
Sikh
running
activist. They
the
don't say
results of the
he's a
political stock
Khalistani extremist
exchange
who believes
on
in
no
a
issue
theocratic state in Punjab
has
and
the
the elimination of
opinion
Hindus
amongst
from the area.
opposition voters
And it's
and
backed by
government
Pakistan, by
voters
the way.
being so
They never
aligned
mention
as
that.
it is
They
on
only
the issue of
basically
India,
call people
Canada,
Sikh activists. They're
Trudeau's
always
charges
just a
and
Sikh
India's
activist,
pushback.
even though
That
that's
shows
a smear
the
against
level of
Sikh people,
congruence
and
there
it's
is
belittling the issues of Hindus
across
when
the
they're calling
political
out
divide.
Khalistanis.
Brahma Chalani, 57%
For
of
joining me here
respondents
on
nationally say
India
India
Today,
did not
right,
kill the
many thanks,
Khalistani
we
terrorists.
will come back to you
And
for
even
more
if it were
as this
true
story develops.
that
I also
Indian
want to
agencies
bring into
did
this
kill the
conversation
Khalistani
Ambassador
terrorists,
Veena Sikri.
61%
She joins
seem
us
to
on the
support
show, and I hope we
the
have
move.
the link
What do you
back
make
with
of the
her.
kind of responses
Ma'am,
we've picked up in the political stock
foreign
exchange?
ministers, they've just had a meeting
Well, first,
in
when you
the
have
United
a
States of
dreaded
America.
international fugitive
Would this
that is
have been
wanted
a
in India
part,
for
some
multiple
part of
acts
the
of
discussion,
terror, including
considering the
bombing
United
a
States is
cinema
also there,
that killed
Australia is also
or
there,
wounded
and Justin
46
Trudeau
people.
has
He also
mentioned
assassinated a
intelligence shared
politician.
by Five Eyes
So
partners.
obviously, his
Well, the
death,
meeting of the
by
foreign
whatever
ministers
means,
in New York today was very positive.
can only be
Indeed, there's
welcomed
been
by
a
people in
very
India.
good readout, a statement of the
You
meeting,
won't find a majority
certainly covering
UP
the main
opposing
objectives
the
of
fact
Quad,
that he
looking
died,
at
that he
Indo-Pacific
died, whether he died of
security,
natural cause
freedom
or
of
he died of
navigation,
unnatural
and
cause.
development of the
That's a different issue.
economic partnership
But the
between
fact
the
that
members of the
that
Quad.
dreaded
No
terrorist
mention at all
is
of
gone
anything of what what Prime Minister of Canada had been saying. And if at all, even
do you want to just quickly recap for those watching
meetings,
the charges against KS Nijjar, because a lot of people in Canada and elsewhere trying to project him
I'm
as
sure our foreign minister would have very
in charge of a
put
Gurdwara,
across
a man
India's
of religion,
absolute
not a man of
sense
violence.
of dismay and horror at the kind of absurd charges that have been placed by Prime Minister Trudeau. In fact, it is absolutely amazing that Prime Minister Trudeau can have the thinks he has the credibility to say that I have surveillance intelligence, but I cannot share it. And then he wants Indian to do something about it. So, I mean, this is absolutely unheard of. But I'm very glad to hear from the previous panelists from Canada that actually the awareness of the Khalistani movement, what it has been doing, is now growing. And this is very vital for us, that we have to spread this among the people of Canada as well, because they have no idea. Canada is talking about illegal activities, but they refuse to recognize the illegal activities of Nichar, and they gave him citizenship despite India having given reams and reams of data and cases about his violence in India.
So what does this speak of the leadership in Canada? That's the background of this guy who was wanted in India for intelligence that India had shared at the time of Air India aircraft Kanish. Canada did nothing, and 300 plus people lost their lives. Or in the current case, Mitchell was carrying out terror activities in India, and Canada refused to take action against him. Red corner notice sent in 2014, once again in 2016. What does this make of the Trudeau leadership?
No, I think it clearly highlights the double standards that the government of Canada has been following, and I think it's time it came out in the open.
Because
you cannot talk about Canada being the safest place in the world and then inviting all the terrorists from Khalistan.
What is interesting in the data is the fact that whether the voter is an NDA voter or he's voting for the opposition, there is a high level of alignment on questions to do with India, Canada, Khalistan, Trudeau's action, the charges. It seems the mood in the country is very similar. Regardless of which side one sits on the political divide. When they threaten Hindus in Canada, are Hindus in Canada unsafe because will Justin Trudeau government act of a vote back politics of Khalistani votes? They will not act. And what are options for India in such a situation?
I don't feel any single person
it is a very difficult situation for India, because I think that now what is happening in Canada, certainly the Hindus are feeling very bad. The visas for Canadians have been stopped, but of course OCI card holders and people who already have visas, they are most free to come to India. But I think the really worrying situation is that a person like Panu, he's a Canadian citizen, he has dual nationality, he's Canadian and US, and when he said this, there is nothing said against him. It's not called out as hate speech, and this is very worrying. I can see what is happening, and what worries me a lot is that now this seems to become a pawn of Prime Minister Trudeau's political campaign, his re-election campaign. He's making it part of that campaign. And what was said by the panelists that the public media, the government-owned media in Canada is being very pro-Trudeau, but the independent media is calling out the Prime Minister. Certainly, the opposition political ratings are higher than the Prime Minister, but that all this means that Prime Minister Trudeau is not going to give up on this, and he's going to go on and on and on this. There's a very worrying focus that is coming out. For example, there's a public inquiry now starting in Canada about Chinese interference in affairs of Canada, and there's a demand from Trudeau's political alliance partner, the NDP, the pro-Khalistani NDP, that they should more countries included, and he's mentioning Russia, Iran, and India. So
Navdeep Suri, you've been a diplomat, you also understand politics.
Any evidence,
I want to show our viewers
this is where
current popularity numbers of Justin Trudeau,
and we'll track the story over the next several days and weeks.
His opponents in Canadian politics. There's an election coming up in a year or so from now. Who is the preferred prime ministerial candidate? Trudeau's popularity stands at only 31%. 40% would like his principal opponent, Pierre Poilievre, to be the next prime minister. 22% want Jagmeet Singh of the NDP. Remember, Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh are in an alliance, and Pierre Poilievre is at 40%. He's number one. Now, this assertion that's being made that he's doing this to salvage low popularity ratings, to what extent do you believe that could be true? Because even in the C voter data, most people think he's doing it to benefit in local elections, and he's under pressure from the Khalistani lobby.
Well, I think that seems self-evident, and he's been doing this for several years. I think the attachment attachment to the Khalistani lobby seems to be directly proportional to his polling numbers. But otherwise, we've seen it in his Bhangra gigs, we've seen it in his various appearances, trying to curry favor with a section of the Sikh community in Canada. But Rahul, I want to make 2 points, if I may. One is because perhaps I'm sitting in Amritsar and you've drawn a poll in Punjab. So let me take a shot at the very interesting numbers that you threw out. Even while there's a great deal of agreement, and your numbers show that, on the India-Canada issue, India is doing the right thing, and there was no difference between your numbers in India as a whole and in Punjab. But there is a real disquiet in Punjab, because it disproportionately sends people to Canada, right? Of the millions strong, whatever Indian community is, 60% is from Canada. And today, when you read the headlines and you look at all the newspapers and listen to some of the commentary on YouTube, the sense you get is two kinds of worry. One is people whose families are in Canada, and who were waiting for their parents and others. There's a holiday season coming up, there's a festive season coming up, there's a wedding season coming up. And there are people who are keen to come to India, as they do every year at this time of the year. What happens to their visas? Because we know it's a reality that many people, despite repeated urgings by our embassies, our consulates, and by the Ministry of External Affairs, have not availed of the OCI card. Now, are they stranded? Are we going to find ways to deal with it? People who have legitimate reasons to come to India over the next 3-4 months, however long it is. Secondly, in Amritsar and I'm sure in other cities in Punjab, there's a real disquiet about people who have deposited fees, 15-20 lakhs for their kids to be admitted to Canadian universities, and who are now thinking, what's going to happen to their visas? Because even though the Canadians haven't announced it reciprocally and perhaps won't, because they need those students to fund their universities, but from the perspective of the persons whose kids are in the pipeline today, Justin Trudeau, the downsizing of Canadian missions in Delhi means longer visa queues automatically. So I just wanted to say that there's a
those are important points. I want Manjinder Sirsa from the BJP to respond. You are raising the concern about the community having a sense of being disquiet and concerned. There are families in Canada. Virtually everyone in Punjab has somebody in Canada and vice versa amongst the Punjabi community. Many of them want to come back. The holiday season is here. There are students who are in the pipeline to go. You want to reduce the size of the High Commission. That means that visa delays increased. It's already several months late. It could be delayed even further. Manjinder Sirsa, how does your government and your party respond to these concerns, Mr. Suri?
Many believe that
so definitely these are the biggest concerns when it comes to Punjab and the people living in Canada, because as Mr. Suri very well said, that most of the people are from Punjab. We are also concerned about that. We are also looking at that. The situation is getting turning to the worst point after the situation created by the Prime Minister of Canada when he threw out our diplomats.
But I was speaking earlier in the day to Vikram Majiti, and he said, why should an entire community, an entire state be punished for the actions of a few? Target the Khalistanis, go after them rather than put the entire community and an entire state in a state of limbo.
So nobody is putting an entire state or entire community. Definitely, that's a big challenge. As you very well said, it's a big case challenge for us also. Because half of the families in Canada and half of the families in Punjab. And we are facing, but the problem here is, the question should be asked from Trudeau, not from the Indian Prime Minister, because he was the one who threw out our diplomats. He went to the parliament.
No, but these are the difference is that
political career was at stake.
Asking a diplomat to leave is between governments. Asking a diplomat to leave is between governments. Putting all visas in suspension then impact the larger community, and there are many more Indians wanting to go to Canada than there are Canadians wanting to come to India.
So there are two different set of people. One are the Canadian. No Indian requires a visa. They already have a visa and OCI card. But yes, the people who have taken the passport, Canadian passport there will be in a problem, and the government will take care of them also. It is not for the Indian people who want to come back. I'm sure the government
India. So
will not see any single person get affected by this order. I'm sure about that.
Navdeep Suri raised the concern about students who are in the pipeline. If the High Commission gets,
that's very easy to get. So all those
the staff strength is reduced, then there are concerns that there will be massive visa delays.
Perhaps would have to rethink.
No, but visa delay from Canadian side or from Indian side? It cannot be from Indian side because the Canadian visa is issued by the Canadian government here in Delhi.
That's what I'm saying. So if they reduce the size of the High Commission, it will increase the pressure on the officers who are there. It will increase the time it will take for people to get visas.
Rahul, but that is not our concern. That has to be taken care by the Canadian government.
पर आप ही ने बोला ना उनको कि अपने बंदे कम करो, तो हमारा इम्पैक्ट तो सूरी साहब वही तो बोल रहे हैं, इम्पैक्ट तो हमारे बंदों पे है.
पीढ़ियों तक No, impact हमारे बंदों पे है definitely. पर जो visa, I'm just talking about the visa and the students who want to travel from Punjab to Canada. So it is not our government who has to decide. It's a Canadian government who has to decide this. So I don't believe that Suri Saab must be right on one part that if we are not issuing a visa to the people living in Canada, that's a big question here. But when it comes to people living in Delhi, in India want to go to Canada, that is a
Okay, let me get Navdeep Suri to respond very briefly because I have a lot of questions I want to go through, but let him respond to what he's heard from the BJP spokesperson, Mr. Suri.
I think, Sisara, what I was trying to say is when we announced a decision for the Canadians to downsize their diplomatic representation in India to the same level as ours in Canada, it has an unintended consequence. And that unintended consequence is that there are fewer consular staff to process visas. That's the limited point I'm making, that it is the classic case of the law of unintended consequences, where the humanitarian impact will be felt in Punjab, and already people are talking about it. I'm saying this because I have
media plans smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Responses to the other
Amplify
questions.
your brand with
this is an interesting question from Yashwant Deshmukh's team, because
to advertise, mail us
a country like Israel, a country like the United States, especially post 9/11, has been going out and doing targeted killings of those who act against American interest. When a Zawahiri is killed or when an Osama bin Laden is killed, everyone watching typically tends to applaud. Well done, Obama. Well done, Bush.
You're with us here
Should
on
India
Business
do the
Today.
same? Here are the responses to that question. This is going to generate a lot of chatter. This question from the political stock exchange: should terrorists be hunted and eliminated? 83%.
Expected to bring in
8 out of 10
of
respondents in this poll say yes, terrorists should be hunted and killed.
Being included in JP Morgan index.
Let's look at the responses from within Punjab. In Punjab as well, 64% of the respondents say terrorists should be hunted and killed. 17% say no. That is massive. That just suggests. Remember, these are always controversial because it's extrajudicial. You're going into somebody else's country, killing a terrorist over there. If you get a big catch, your voters like it. It's always diplomatically tough to handle. But the mood in India, very clear and very direct. What's your reaction to the killing? What's your reaction to the expulsion of an Indian diplomat by Canada? 18% say it doesn't matter. No reaction. 39% say India should expel one Canadian diplomat, which already has
announced its
expelled
intention
all
to include
Canadian
Indian
diplomats.
government bonds, and
26%. That's a bit over the top. That's just the populist mood. I won't take that
23
very
government bonds
seriously.
are set to be included
Is Trudeau
from
supporting
June
Khalistani
2024,
terrorism?
and this
Let's
will
come
set
to
the
this
stage
question.
for billions
Is
of dollars in
the
inflows
government of
into the
Justin
Indian
Trudeau
bond
and the
market.
Prime Minister
India's
himself
maximum weightage
supporting
in the index will be
Khalistani
10%.
terrorists?
Reports say the move will
60%
benefit
say
FDI
yes,
flows into India,
18%
stabilize
say
the
no.
rupee, lower the cost
In
of borrowing,
Punjab,
and help
responses to
finance
that
the
same
current
question are
account and
different
fiscal
quite
deficit.
naturally. Here,
BTTV's managing editor
39% are saying
Siddharth
yes,
spoke to a panel of top
33% are
experts
saying
on
no.
what the decision
Nationally,
means
the number
for
was
Indian
60
financial
saying yes and 18% saying no. Yashwant Deshmukh, this one number that you've put out in this poll will generate a lot of chatter. 83% of the overall respondents say India should hunt down terrorists.
But it's sort of in a sense Rahul, and again the highlight is not that how many want to say that there should be hunt down. The highlight for me is the sync of the opposition voter and the NDA supporters. what it tells us is that on certain issues, there are three different layers of question that we try to ask. Number, we try to check if people believe that Indian agencies did it. That was roughly in the 60s. That they believe that Indian agencies did not do it. Then we ask, what if they did it? Would that be a right thing to do? The number goes up to 70%. You know, it's the right thing to do. And then we ask a sweeping question: should they be, eliminated altogether? And no matter where they are, kind of sentiment, it goes further to 80%. And regardless of the political divide, regardless of the ideology, the numbers are more or less in sync on the same line.
But tell
what is important for here to understand why we ask this question and to understand is a fact that probably very, very fine line, Rahul, that Western press, Western media, and including Western diplomats should be understanding that many of them think that it's because of the current government in charge that these kind of aggressions are coming in, these kind of emotions are coming in. But what they are not realizing that in a democracy like India, even if tomorrow Congress comes to power, even if tomorrow Mr. Rahul Gandhi becomes the Prime Minister, he just cannot do away with the public emotion on such an issue. Probably no matter who comes to power, he is going to do the same line. He is going to take the same action. This is a different kind of India they are dealing with. Is the public emotion is very clear, regardless across the political support line, and that emotion is going to support no matter who becomes the Prime Minister, no matter who wins the election. This kind of public emotion is going to force the government that they are going to choose, whichever way they choose, to go about the way they want to go.
So Brahma Chelani, if I were to enter the realm of speculation just for a moment, when Prime Minister Modi was in opposition campaigning to be Prime Minister as Chief Minister of Gujarat, he said publicly that why is Dawood Ibrahim not being taken down? What is this idea of just giving dossiers to Pakistan? Why can't we do more? We know that the likes of Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, again he hasn't spoken when he's been in government obviously, but while in opposition, advocated taking down terrorists and being far more proactive than our government had been in the past.
That is supposed
Manohar
to come
Parrikar, when I interviewed him, spoke of using a thorn to take out another thorn.
At the time,
so one of the reasons
that
why
has been indicated,
this is being said or looked at, because this government has been far
in the same
more aggressive in its posture against terrorists than the government of Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Between 25 and 30 billion dollars. I'm not sure.
You have to distinguish rhetoric from action.
Once it's open, it will come in.
Has under Modi India done any hit job?
Depending on its situation
Are the terrorists based in Pakistan still thumping their noses at India? There are more than 100 UN designated terrorists based in Pakistan.
Talking about oil.
Several of them are wanted in India for hundreds of murder.
Equity investors are
Hafiz Saeed is wanted
That's
for
not really the reason. The reason is because US interest rates have reached
what has India done
to
Hafiz Saeed or Masood Azhar or Dawood Ibrahim or name any other prominent terrorists?
The interest rates are going to stay
mentioned earlier that
for quite a while.
Hardeep Singh Nijjar was a little known terrorist in India.
They can either put their money
if India has done nothing against the well-known, most wanted terrorists.
So that is really the driver.
You think India would have gone after
the portfolio flows have been
and what is the basis of Trudeau's
to my mind, that is not going to stop.
The police have not arrested a single suspect.
From different people, and some of them say that the number could be much larger. Do you think that is a possibility? Obviously, like Mr. McClay says, not on day one, but could it even be higher? Because I am reading some numbers which are saying it could even be in the range of 40 to 50 billion.
If you want to rely on intelligence, you can do what other governments have done in the past.
We have an unutilized limit of foreign investment
audio evidence,
in market.
Forensic evidence.
They claim they have evidence. Do you buy that, Brahma Chelani? They claim that there is evidence which is being shared with the Five Eyes country. Do you buy that, or do you think that's just posturing?
Now, as Jamal
Nothing
mentioned,
has been released. They're talking about surveilling
interest rates in
Indian
US.
diplomats.
Obviously,
release the audio.
You will be expecting more return from emerging market like India.
Unfold.
And today the gap is not that
the Turkish government released
global investors into Indian debt market.
Bears continue to dominate the Lal Street for the fourth straight session as indices settle lower for another trading day. Weakness in global markets weighing on domestic equities, which further dampened by rising macroeconomic concerns over crude oil and a rise in US Treasury yields. The BSE Sensex dropped 221 points today, closer to 66,000. The Nifty was also down to end at 19,674, as you can see on your screen. IndusInd Bank, Maruti, SBI, M&M, Asian Paints, some of the names that actually managed to hold out. But continuing laggards, Wipro, Dr. Reddy's, UPL, Cipla, Bajaj Auto on the downside today.
What intelligence agencies do
the Apple iPhone 15 and the new Apple Watch went on sale across the world today, included in showrooms were the made in India iPhones. But there was bigger news in the tech world today, one that impacts more than 1.6 billion people around the world. Microsoft will release its next big Windows 11 update on the 26th of September with several AI-powered features. Let's take a look.
Credible allegations, as if allegations can be credible. Allegations are allegations. There's credible evidence, but not credible.
A few months ago, Microsoft powered its search engine Bing with artificial intelligence and now is going a step further.
One thing that
we're announcing
about
Copilot.
That
our vision
when he stood up in
for
Parliament
everyday AI companion for you.
The death of
Copilot is one.
What he calls Canadian citizen, actually a dreaded international terrorist.
You're going to see a lot of it.
And he
Copilot is one experience that runs across multiple surfaces.
That same
understands your context, brings the right skills to you when you need them.
US assassination
it adapts to you. You no longer have to be the orchestrator of your apps, operating systems and devices.
Just look at his stunning hypocrisy.
Microsoft will release Copilot with more than 150 new features in one of its biggest Windows updates on the 26th of September. The update includes enhancements to apps such as Paint, Photos, Snipping Tool and the Notepad. According to Microsoft, Copilot will be integrated with Windows, all its products and services, including the Bing, the Edge browser and the Microsoft Office. All will function as an AI companion for the users.
It's appalling.
Now, Navdeep, from a diplomatic lens,
when our mission
how do you respond
was to put a PC in every home and every desk?
That seems to suggest that India should go out, in fact, and take down terrorists. So this is the kind of thing
every person and every
you never admit to, never accept publicly, legally. And yet at this moment,
Copilot will bring in contextual data from consumers' devices and from their prior Bing chat history.
So I think
one product
you have a
demonstration
disconnect
showed a
between
user asking Copilot
the sentiment
for flight
that the public
information.
has articulated
The AI was
in your
able
poll
to search
and what
through
is
the
very
user's
visible
text
in
messages to
social
find
media,
the answer. Another
which is a
demonstration showed Microsoft productivity applications generating relevant graphics and charts based on text prompts and other files. AI will also help shoppers zero in on their favorite choices.
Which is
the shopping features in Microsoft Edge delivered more than $4 billion in savings in the past year.
And others use it too. Keeps the deniability
I'll
around.
also be able to use a photo or saved image as a starting point for my shopping. My nephew saw a pair of cleats that he loves and sent me a picture. I can use that picture to quickly find something similar. A bit flashier than what I picked, but regardless, Copilot for shopping made it so easy for me to make a confident purchase.
Let me just say that it isn't as if nothing has been
done. The update also gives a new lease of life to Microsoft Paint, which will now have the AI power to remove backgrounds
excellent
and add
relationship
layers.
with the Saudis and
will
the
have advanced
Emiratis
editing tools,
to secure
including background
the
blur
repatriation
and search.
of people that we really wanted. Abu Jandal from Saudi Arabia, for example, who was involved in 2611. Farooq Takla from Dubai, who was a henchman of Dawood Ibrahim's.
Let's take a break. When we return, a conversation with the Boeing India president about the company's
sharing of information and collaboration between the intelligence agencies at the highest levels has netted us a few gains. But I want to just come also again to that difference in numbers between the rest of India and Punjab. Because I think what I hear around town is
powered by Finesse, be sustainable change, a BNP Group company
in Canada. Are our brothers in Canada again going to have to be afraid that they may be dubbed a Khalistani, even though they have nothing to do with it? Will they be dubbed a terrorist? Will that travel become harder? Something that your viewers should keep in mind, that if there is one thing that Sikhs in particular are sensitive about, is don't question their patriotism. They fight on the front line, and the evidence is there in all the tricolor rap bodies that come back. And it's a real sensitive pain point for anyone. And I've seen some uninformed commentary going around once again.
Absolutely. I saw from Kangana Ranaut as well.
Hateful hai.
Just
anyone who does it,
commentary saying that Sikhs need to prove that they're not Khalistani. Sikhs don't need to prove that they're not Khalistani. The government needs to act against those who are, rather than trying to brandish an entire proud community in the same brush that is completely abhorrent.
I think any community can have a loony fringe.
I want to begin by asking
treat it as that. Keep it beyond the pale, and don't tarnish the mainstream.
Absolutely. That is a very, very important messaging, because even during the farm protest, we saw some people, including ministers in the government, try and brandish or question the entire community, which is absolutely unacceptable and very unfortunate. Question those who pick up arms against the state or those who are fueling incendiary
what I think
fires.
has happened is that in Canada, we've seen a lot of people who are in India who are Hindus who start to feel like second-class citizens over time, just because of the way that the Indian government tends to treat Sikhs and Muslims as being sort of higher priority diaspora, and that I think this current scandal with Justin Trudeau has really highlighted that really certain communities seem to be able to just do no wrong in his eyes, so he's very soft on Palestinian extremism, where Hindu Canadians tend to get ignored and also belittled when it comes to their concerns about extremism and very violent rhetoric towards their homeland and their home government.
We can't possibly have good relations with Canada. 39% of the respondents say no, it's still possible to have good relations with Canada. And that is where I wrap up this week's political stock exchange. Very, very timely, this data set from Yashwant Deshmukh and his team at Sea Voter, because you've got your opinion, and now you've
they didn't have any information. They basically just came out with an accusation and then assumed that it was going to be quickly backfilled. So then when they were basically pressured today after they kicked an Indian diplomat out of the country, and then India responded like rightfully in kind that people were pressuring them to come out with evidence, and they just so far haven't. Justin Trudeau did that pathetic press conference where he came out and basically just said there's substantial accusations. After he was asked by Canadian media, do you have substantial evidence? And if it's just substantial accusations, that doesn't mean anything. All it means is that you have, you just have potentially conspiracy theories being spread by Californians. Even the CBC, who is like Canada's state broadcaster, are basically acting like lackeys of the Liberals and then pretending like background rumors are can be substituted as evidence.
54% of the respondents say, no, India did not kill Niger. So the sentiment very strongly has people suggesting they don't think India is responsible for the killing of this Khalistani terrorist. Let's take a look at the responses in Punjab on the same question. Here, it's 37% saying no. Nationally, it was 57% saying no. So it's 20% less than that. 37% say no. 29% say
Micron
yes.
Technologies will conduct a groundbreaking ceremony at its Sanand plant tomorrow. It's taken the company just 3 months from the signing of an MOU with the state government to holding the Bhumi Pujan for its 22,500 crore rupee unit. The project is the largest investment under the Indian Semiconductor Mission, and the plant will be operational by late next year.
Extrajudicial killing.
Just 15 months' time today, we are looking at one of the largest names in the world of semiconductors, in specific semiconductor memories, Micron of the US, setting up its first plant in Gujarat. And tomorrow is the groundbreaking ceremony. And it tells you in such a short time, in the last 15 months alone,
let's look at the mood in Punjab on the same question.
From the old narrative of why invest in India for semiconductors to why are we not investing in India for semiconductors, as the Honorable Prime Minister said during the second Semicon India conference in Gandhinagar.
So In Punjab also 40%
Elon Musk's
say,
company
yes, that's
Tesla
the right thing.
is planning to manufacture
Nationally,
and sell
that number
a
was
battery
at
storage
61.
system in India.
So with this, now let me introduce our guests who are joining me on this broadcast.
From solar
I want to
panels
welcome
or the
first
grid,
Yashwant
providing
Deshmukh, the
valuable
lead
support
cephalogist
during power
at Sea Water.
outages. The company
With
has
us
submitted a
also on this
proposal to
broadcast
Indian
for
officials
context and
requesting
perspective
incentives to establish
is
the factory.
Brahma Chalani,
According
one
to
of India's
reports, Tesla has
best-known
also requested
strategic
several other
affairs
incentives for the
experts.
factory,
We have
but Indian
Navdeep
officials
Singh
have
Suri,
conveyed that these
distinguished fellow at
incentives
the Observer
won't be
Research
available. Tesla has been in
Foundation,
discussions
former
with India
ambassador,
regarding the
and we
establishment
have
of a new
Manjinder
electric
Singh
vehicle
Sirsa,
factory.
National Secretary and spokesperson of the BJP.
Aircraft major Boeing will open its largest
foremost to
facility
Yashwant
outside of the
Deshmukh.
US
On your
in
numbers,
Bengaluru. The company will open a
the mood
43-acre
very
facility with an
clearly
initial investment of
seems to
1,600
suggest
crore rupees.
that
Boeing has
people
also set a
think that
10,000
Trudeau
crore
is
rupee
doing
yearly
what he
target
is
for sourcing from India.
because he wants to
Meanwhile,
benefit in the
conversation
Canadian
with Business
elections
Today TV,
and
Boeing also
because he's
revealed its
under
plans to
pressure from
localize the production and
pro-Khalistani
maintenance
elements
of
inside
its
Canada.
P-8I maritime surveillance aircraft.
Well,
India will
Rahul,
be adding an additional
one very
6 of these
interesting thing
into
which
its
is coming
fleet.
from this particular
Tell
round
me,
of
how has
PSE
this
poll, I mean, from
10-year
us.
decade journey been
Earlier,
like
every time
in
we did a
terms
tracking
of
poll on
P-8I in
any
India?
such pressing
Well,
issue, we could
we're
see a very,
celebrating
very
10 years of the
partisan
P-8I
kind
contributing
of
to Indian Navy
answers,
and, of course, the
based
Indian
on the
Defense
political
Industrial Base
orientation ideology.
contributing to the
I
P-8I
guess
for
that
10 years.
after a long
The
time,
P-8I was
after,
actually, in
we
India,
got to
was
an
actually
issue
an example
where
of the
actually
first
there is
international
hardly any
partnership for this
division as far as
aircraft,
the opposition
developed
voters or
originally
NDA
for
voters
the
are
U.S.
concerned.
India was
So
the first
particularly
international
this is,
partner.
and also the fact that
It was truly
even though
groundbreaking
I
then,
was
and it has
expecting
proven to
some
be a
difference as
critical
far
part of
as
the Indian
response
Navy's
from
capability
rest of India
for
and Punjab is
anti-submarine
concerned,
warfare, but then
it is
well
not
beyond
as
that,
big a change that
for
would have been
intelligence, surveillance,
contrasting of
reconnaissance
sorts.
beyond
So
on land as well.
arguably, this
And
is one,
India has been the country that has
ironically for
shown
Canada
the
and Trudeau,
flexible
it
use
is
of
one
this
thing,
aircraft. And
one
I think that's
issue
why it's been so
which
important
has
to
kind
India's
of
capabilities,
united
but that's why
more or less
India
people
has
across
shown,
India.
by showing the flexibility of the aircraft, it has been a model for countries around the world that are interested in the P-8. So it's really been a synergistic relationship.
Great. And how does the next leg of journey look like, especially for the next 6 aircrafts, if that's the confirmed number?
Well, nothing is confirmed from that front because we know there's a requirement for P-8s historically. The Navy is now going to firm up what their latest requirement will be, and then once they do that, we will of course respond to that and work very closely with them to meet that requirement on the timeline that they seek. But I think
across
certainly as you look at the Indo-Pacific and you look at the threat environment in this neighborhood, the P-8 is such a unique capability that I think this is clearly an environment where those capabilities are being utilized every day.
To support
the three-day Kumbh for auto racing fans began in Delhi NCR today with practice sessions at the Buddh International Circuit. The mega event marks the return of international motorsport to India after the departure of Formula One in 2013. Here's a look at all the action and what the event means for the region's economy.
A cinema that killed or wounded 46 people. He also assassinated a politician. So obviously,
it's been a typical Indian welcome for the superstars of MotoGP Fresh from the adrenaline rush of San Marino 2 weeks ago. The racers looked enthralled with the dance performances.
He died of unnatural causes. That's a different issue. But the fact that a dreaded terrorist is on is something that Indians can only welcome.
Do you want to
Even
just
joining
quickly
in to
recap
shake a
for
leg
those
to the Oscar-winning Natu Natu just a few minutes later.
A lot of people in Canada and elsewhere trying to project him as a Sikh preacher in charge of a Gurdwara.
The Buddh racetrack even turned into a cricket pitch with Francesco Bagnaia, Fabio Quartararo, Luca Marini and Paul Espargaro trying their hand on India's favorite sport. The elitist of the elite pack racers turned into novices for a round of gully cricket.
They entered Canada illegally.
The races started in earnest today with BIC roaring back into action after a 10-year-long silence. The excitement is palpable, with an estimated 450 million fans worldwide eagerly awaiting the spectacle. India, with its massive population of 1.4 billion and an annual sale of 18 million bikes, stands as the world's largest motorcycle market. Surprisingly, even before the inaugural race, India boasts an impressive fan base of 54 million, demonstrating an insatiable appetite for MotoGP in the nation.
MotoGP happens in any state, so an economic movement of around close to 106 million happens. And here also you'll see those type of things are happening. We have invested a big amount on the track development and infrastructure setup with help of
What investments have you done, sir, for the track development and infrastructure?
We have to still find out the good numbers, but it has been close to 50 plus crores.
It's a pyramid system. When you bring the top level of that particular discipline in motorcycling, just like when Formula 1 comes to a country, it builds the whole ecosystem around it. Likewise, what MotoGP coming to India will do is going to strengthen the grassroots level, it's going to strengthen the national championships, it's going to strengthen the involvement of all manufacturers.
Over 3 action-packed days, a total of 82 riders from 41 teams will compete for glory across MotoGP, Moto2 and Moto3 categories. The economic impact is expected to be substantial, with previous MotoGP races generating a staggering 106 million euros from enthusiastic spectators and an additional 6.6 million euros in staff impact, contributing significantly to job creation. But it's not just a global affair. An Indian talent, the 26-year-old Kadai Yassin Ahmed, has secured a wildcard entry for the race. Ahmed will compete on a Honda NSF 2504 in the Moto3 category, adding a thrilling local dimension to the event.
Act of violence or killing. By simply saying that yesterday also he gave a statement. He said India should join us, India should help us out in finding. So whether he has asked any kind of help, whether India has denied any kind of help, he never said this. So everybody in this nation knew now that what Trudeau does is for it's a political stunt.
The race action will reach 450 million homes across 195 countries with 180 live cameras around the track. In terms of media visibility among top sporting leagues, MotoGP is in 5th place with 329 million impressions, second only to Champions League football.
The constructor wanted to come here to India because it's the nation of the bike, so we need to be there. Quite happy to be here. I hope that during the race weekend we see a lot of people on track and we can provide a good show.